Hello, welcome. Right, I better hang on. Just got to do some Discord things. Oh, hello,
no.
welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast, episode 84.
Ooh,
You guys still there?
84.
Check. Yeah. Is there one here? Sorry,
I think.
Sorry. There we go. Yeah. We're on now. Yeah, welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast number 84.
Ooh,
84. 84, mate. It's
That was
on
a good year.
84 on the 18th of August 2020, which is a bit of a significant date for us, isn't it, Stacey?
Yeah.
Because it's 2 years since we moved here.
Yep.
Ah, it's gone so fast.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know. It doesn't feel like 2 years.
No,
No.
but to think, on the day we moved, I was cleaning an oven and eating pizza, and then I'm doing the same thing today.
Oh, yeah, that's actually true. I remember we stayed around your sisters, didn't we?
Yeah.
Overnight the night before, and then when we basically came into the house just to wait for our parents to come up with all the trucks and stuff, like for the stuff, and we were just like pulling out weeds in the garden, weren't we, for a couple
you
hours?
were,
And
no.
you were cleaning the oven or something. 'Cause the oven was
Something to do.
state. Yeah, something to do while we were waiting for all our stuff to arrive and our parents and all that. Oh, that was a stressful day. I'd rather not think about that day again. Especially the frigging wardrobe, which had to be literally torn to pieces just to get up the stairs and then re-hammered back together.
Moving days never fun.
No, it's never fun. That's literally the first time I've done it since I was about 6 months old. So you've done it a few more times than that.
Just a few more times.
I've literally only ever moved once, and I was too young to remember it. So yeah. So I'm the Gagaman.
I'm CherryT.
I'm ShelvedGamer.
Andrew, hello?
Oh, hang on.
Microphone. I'll sort in a sec, but
Hello, Hunk Thunder's here.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Okay.
Mike was going a bit funky there. He sounded like a robot for a sec. It's cool. Yeah. So, let's get on with this thing, I guess. Not really prepared today. We've been running around cleaning and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So, I guess we shall start this thing how we always start these things, with what we've been playing, what video games we've been playing. So, don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Basically, this week I went a bit analog because I finally got my Lego set.
Yeah. Well, only slightly analog because there is elements to it.
Yeah, it's a clever little system. Basically, it scans barcodes on the bottom of the enemies, as it were, or on top of the enemies, and the light shines down from the boss of Mario. So yeah, that's
And he's bum.
yeah. I was trying to avoid that, but Gagaman just comes along, just makes it all.
He just scans his bum onto the
Scanned
Goomba's
his
head.
No, scan his gluteus maximus.
Yeah.
Is it literally a barcode or?
It is a coloured barcode, so it's not
Almost
like
gonna be like an amiibo type situation, but it sounds like it's
yeah, that's what I think.
a bit simpler than that, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I'd say a 3-coloured barcode, i.e., like red, green, blue. But it's really tiny, so you can't really, unless you have like a really high quality printer, you can't really print out your own barcodes.
See, that's how they get you.
Yeah.
or that's how they get you to buy the stuff rather than just print the codes off and go, oh, I've got a pretend Goomba.
Yeah, that's the thing. Buying the stuff.
It's Lego.
Yeah, yeah. I must have spent about £100 on it already, just on expansions and
Really.
And I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't appreciate what I've got, but jeebs, it's expensive.
It got you in its web.
Yeah. Thankfully, I pre-ordered with Lego themselves, so I got the Monty Mole expansion pack.
That was a
Expansion pack.
It was like a pre-order bonus, wasn't it?
It was. And
Monty Mole DLC.
Yeah. At the moment, it's going for £60.
Whoa!
on
Really?
eBay. Yeah,
This is Amiibo all over again.
yeah.
They knew that going into this. They do this every time, especially Nintendo. They love doing this. They did it with the mini consoles. I mean, obviously, this is kind of out of Nintendo's hands. It's more to do with Lego, but they know what they're doing. You know.
Well, Lego are the same.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they've always done it. They've always done it.
I mean, can you imagine what that NES kit is going to be worth when it goes out of print?
Yeah.
Or
It'll
when it's out for
skyrocket.
about 5 minutes and goes out
Yeah.
of stock. Yeah.
Well, funny enough, someone had posted on a Nintendo Facebook group. Someone putting a Raspberry Pi inside the NES.
I knew someone was going to do
It
that.
was never.
Yeah.
It was never a matter of if, only when.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. Is that thing already out then, or?
Yeah.
Oh, I
It's,
didn't realise the NES thing was out already. I thought that was later.
Yours for only £299.99. £209, sorry, but still,
I'm good.
yeah.
I think I'm good.
It's not even well, I would say it was an investment, but when you put it together and need to take it all apart again, you know, is it really worth it?
As a mild tangent on that, speaking of Raspberry Pis, they've just released a new NES case for the Pi 4.
Oh,
And-
yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, and the NES cartridge can have an SSD put in it, and when you plunge it down, it works as an actual SSD for your Raspberry Pi
Oh,
in
wow.
a NES cart. Very
it-
cool.
Do you have to keep putting it in over and over and over again?
You
for it
just
to
keep blowing
work?
into it.
And it just keeps blinking, and you just keep like plugging it back in, taking it out, plugging it back in,
Yeah.
and then just buy.
Honestly,
every
I
card
would
instead.
actually like to get one of those.
That's a really cool idea, actually.
It is, yeah.
I mean, you're only
Um,
really going to put one SSD in it ever, but
Yeah.
like, unless
Well,
you just buy loads of SSDs and put individual NES ROMs on each one, and then
I
just
mean,
go, oh, it's just like
that's
the real
gonna be
thing.
expensive.
A very expensive way of doing the real thing.
Because it's like, if you've bought that kind of case, presumably you're using it as a retro Pi, not as a desktop or something.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like, you don't need an SSD. You just don't need one, you know?
Hmm.
I know that now we're getting to the stage we can actually play Dreamcast games on the Raspberry Pi,
That's
But
cool.
yeah, it's
kind of.
Getting there.
So, yeah, getting there. And, you know, PSP and stuff. So they are starting to get larger, the games, but still, you know.
slight overkill, I'd say.
Yeah.
At that
I'd
point,
say.
you may as well just emulate on a PC.
Mm.
Like if you're going to put like an SSD in. But anyway.
Yeah. Of course, I've been playing Animal Crossing,
Mhm.
and not lots different. It's getting to like the middle of the month, so everyone's sort of just waiting for the next month to come around, where we get new bugs, new fish, and new sea creatures.
New
Yeah.
fish.
Yep.
New bugs.
what-
Yay. I love
Mm.
getting new bugs every month.
Mm.
Since we've been here, it's just every month is just new spiders.
Or new moths.
A couple moths, but mostly spiders.
24 whole months of that.
Pretty much.
Yeah. What else have I played? Oh yes. Through my Nintendo fan group, Nintendo Southend,
Oh yeah.
I was recently contacted by two companies actually. The first one, you just bear with me because I've actually forgotten the name of the game that they sent me. It's from the
You didn't say that.
no.
No, it's
Those-
great. I've played it for ages.
These fine folks at Quantum Astrophysics Guild. That's
Oh, okay.
that's the games company.
Ah,
Sent me a code for the Ambassador Fractured Timelines. So
okay, I think I've heard of that one.
yeah, so I'm just playing through that at the moment, and also Wired Productions. It's not up for a few weeks yet, so I'm actually quite surprised about this.
Ooh, you got it early.
Yeah, Avicii and Vector.
Oh god.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, right. This was
They
a
actually-
Vita game originally, wasn't it? Or am I
a
mistaken?
Vita, PS4, and
Avicii on the Vita. Avita.
Avicii and
As in-
Vita.
yeah, as in the
Avicii
musician.
on Avita.
Yeah,
PlayStation Avicii.
yeah.
It probably would have sold better if they called it that. Like maybe 5 more units.
Probably could actually. But yeah, it's not out till the 6th of September. Sorry to get the press release out and everything, but
Mhm.
not that I'm,
Fine.
I get these all the time or
I
anything.
think there's a demo for it on the eShop, so I might have to try
Yeah.
that out. I know absolutely nothing about Avicii.
I know about the song "Wake Me Up" and the fact
Yep.
that he passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, I did
Oh,
know that,
and
yeah.
he also produced some of a Coldplay album as well. You know, like "Sky Full of Stars."
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I could probably consider what that album was like. Yeah, I can totally hear that.
Yeah,
Actually.
I,
But
Yeah,
it's a rhythm game, so I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I thought that album
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Hmm.
Oh, it was-
yeah. Like I say, the demo has just come out this week as well. The game isn't out until the 8th of September.
Okay.
But yeah, I've got the actual physical cartridge on my desk right now.
Oh,
They
Oh,
actually sent you a card.
not just a review code.
Not just a review code or not just the cartridge, but the actual collector's edition, which
Wow.
on the
Nice.
cover, it is really nice. It's like a silver, reflective silver chrome sort of logo, and around the back it's all the information. But yeah, I should be doing a stream of that pretty soon because that's what they've asked me to do with it. But
Oh, nice.
yes,
That'd be cool. You could do that over if you wanted to do anything on Lucky Hit with it as well, if you're allowed. That would be cool.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
want, obviously.
yeah.
I don't know
That's-
what YouTube's like content ID with music would be like, but I don't
That's a big question amongst the Nintendo Players UK people. Just like, can we actually stream it? Because we don't really want our channels taken away just because we're using a game that we've been told to stream but couldn't stream.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah,
From what
But,
I saw of like the screenshots, it kind of reminded me of Amplitude on the PS2 a little bit.
yeah, that is pretty much what it's inspired by.
Okay,
It's not
yeah.
exactly like that, but yeah, it's Amplitude. I wouldn't say Thumper, but basically,
not as scary as Thumper, I hope.
no, definitely not. But yeah, it's how many songs of his? 35 songs of Avicii on the
That's a lot of Avicii.
game. Yeah.
Aren't they releasing like a special Switch as well?
They made 5 Switch lights, which were completely white, but on the back has the Avicii logo and the logo of the game as well. So
That's cool.
I have entered that. So if I win that, I've got like 2 copies. And...
You're like the world's biggest Avicii fan if you get that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind his songs. I'm not his biggest fan, but yeah, he made a game, so that's all right.
I think in the case of like rhythm games, like I don't have to love the music, but I think it helps. But at the same time, like I will play through songs that I don't necessarily really dig if they're fun to play.
Yeah, it's like DJ Hero. I mean, like there's loads of songs on that I really like, but it's a bit weird, like playing them as it were like I wouldn't say a band, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I've been playing for this week and for the next couple of weeks with the Avicii Invicta game. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out because, as I say, I'm kind of thirsty for more rhythm games on the Switch, to be honest. What kind of control schemes does it have? Is it just buttons or does it have a touch mode?
I'm not actually sure. It does say 1 Joy-Con required per player, so it most likely is Joy-Con only. Not Joy-Con only, but controller based.
Okay. All right.
But yeah,
I think my favourite rhythm games on the Switch would definitely be the ones that use the touchscreen.
yeah. Oh, you know what's on sale at the moment? Hatsune Miku.
Oh, yeah, I saw that was on there.
Future Tone.
Yeah, as basically Sega are having their own little sale at the moment. Obviously, that's going on sale. So
I just
why I figured
don't think my Joy-Cons could take it.
yeah,
I just don't think my brain can take Miku music.
That's fair.
I mean, like, I'll get to what I've been playing, but basically, one of the games I've been playing has a handful of Miku songs in it, and I just can't. I can't.
Please do.
Some of them are okay, but like most of it, I just can't stand.
It is quite selective, I think.
it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
weird
it's a
one.
very, very niche thing. Like, I can understand why people like it, but it's not really for me.
Yeah.
as someone who 100%ed the 2 PS3 games, I can tell you it can get a bit grating. So yeah.
And as someone who used to acquire some actual Vocaloids to actually try to make like vocal tracks with, yeah, a bit grating too.
So what we're saying is, Hatsune, she sucks.
I'm sure she's a nice girl.
Yeah,
Sure
nice virtual girl.
Nice non-existent girl that doesn't exist. Yeah. Awkward silence.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Who else is playing stuff?
Do you want to go next, or shall I? Or
I'll go next if that's cool, because I can segue into what I've mostly been playing, which is also a rhythm game, because literally the one I was just talking about that had a handful of Hatsune Miku type songs in it. I've been mostly playing Taiko no Tatsujin on the Switch.
Ooh, lucky for some.
I basically jumped back into it. I don't have the drum set. I've only got the game on its own because Argus flogged off the game on its own really cheap about a year or so ago. And I saw that, I think it was like they were celebrating 1 million sales of the game or something. So they did like this massive free DLC pack that basically threw a load of new Namco songs into the game, including a song from that Mr. Driller game that just came out, which is also on GameCube. It's got a song from Soul Calibur 2, it's got an Ace Combat song, it's got a Tekken 6 song, I think it is. And it's also got Katamari Damacy. It's got Katamari on the Rock at friggin' last. I was like, yep, I'm downloading that immediately because it was free. And it was just like, I think it was like an extra like 12 songs or something. So that was like the catalyst that basically got me back into getting addicted to this game yet again. Because since the game came out, it was pretty bare bones when it first came out. It didn't have a lot of modes. But they've actually added quite a lot of stuff since, and the most vital thing they've added is an actual online ranked multiplayer mode, which, surprisingly wasn't there from day one. I think it was added last year sometime, I think. But,
so this is a Bomberman R sort of situation, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sort of. I think in the case of Bomberman R, it had online at the start, but it was running at like 30 frames per second, and they had the patch in 60 afterwards.
Or about 5 frames a second in our case.
Oh god, yeah, that when we were doing that wireless play, oh jeez. But yeah, the multiplayer mode, it's got like, it's kind of like seasons where like it'll be like, I think it's like every 3 weeks they have like this set of stuff that you can win, including icons, and I think there's actual songs that you can unlock if you play enough different songs. I think the songs cycle round every 5 days or so. I think it's like every 4 days, because I'm basically waiting for tomorrow for the songs to cycle round again. But you get like a pool of about 10 songs, and basically within the season, if you manage to play 30 different songs online, you unlock a song that you can only get in this mode. Like, you can't buy it as DLC, you can't unlock it by any other means. And I think once it's gone, it might come back round, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know what the song is. Like, it might
That's
be some original thing. But yeah, I'm basically grinding my way towards like unlocking this song just to see what it is, just so I'll get like a free song. But like, I think I've got 17 songs so far, and I'm just waiting for the next pool of 10 songs to come along, and I should be able to just barely get enough songs in time. But yeah, I've ended up getting really addicted to the online mode because there's like leagues for each difficulty. So you've got easy, normal, hard, and extreme, or only, whatever you want to call it. And obviously I haven't been touching those later ones, but I've been playing loads of easy and normal, and you know, having a pretty good ratio of wins to losses. I think it really depends who shows up. Obviously you'll get players who just get perfect scores all the way through, and if you get a single okay, you've immediately lost. But yeah, I've really been enjoying that mode, and as I say, because I haven't got the drum kit, because that's still quite expensive to buy. I think it's like almost £100 in August, but I'm waiting to see if it goes on sale at some point, and then I'll probably just buy the game again with the drum set and just sell the spare copy. But because I think I got the game for like £12 or something. It was an absolute bargain. Still absolutely shocked that this game even got localized, especially the way it got localized. It is literally the Japanese game with just English text. Like, every single song is the same, all the DLC is the same. How they managed to wrangle the licenses for some of these songs, I have no idea.
Yeah,
They've got like Japanese versions of Disney songs on there. They've got stuff like Ampan Man and Doraemon and Pokemon songs and all this really obscure anime and J-pop and all this stuff that you think, how the hell did they manage to get some
wrangle
kind?
this.
Because you know what music rights are like, especially like
Yeah.
going from one country to the next is an absolute nightmare. Like Japanese stuff, you're lucky if any of it's on Spotify or anywhere like that, let alone like but being able to buy a CD by a Japanese band in this country is just like
This
next to
is
impossible. So how they managed to just bring this over as is without having to change the songs or anything, it's literally the same game. They just
I expected it
translated
in
it.
the agents, basically.
Yeah, I was expecting them to swap all the songs out for like Western songs or something, which would have been fine. I would have been fine with that, but the fact that we're getting the exact same game as Japan and you play it online and you're playing against the exact same people, you know, you're playing against people from Japan or whatever, and you're all just playing the same game, I think that's amazing. Like, obviously, if they did do a version that had all Western songs, I'd probably buy both. Because I feel like this is becoming one of my like favourite rhythm games now. Like playing it with the touch controls is really fun, but I do want to get that drum kit because I've been looking at a load of videos about how you're actually supposed to play taiko when you play it in the arcades. Like, you're not really supposed to hold the sticks like drumsticks. You're supposed to hold them sort of like from the ends, like certain fingers. And you like when it comes to like the harder songs where there's loads of notes, you actually have to sort of roll the stick on the drum by like sort of hitting it so it bounces and like reverbs off the drum. And obviously there's only certain like console versions of the drums can't quite roll properly, because I was looking at this video where someone was comparing like a unlicensed one you can get for the Switch, the official Hori one, and then like this handmade one that was like $380, and it's like the full size that you would get in the arcades. As you were saying, it was literally identical to the arcade one, but yeah, it's like almost $400.
That's if you can get it.
Yeah, exactly, because I think they were made by one person. You basically have to order them, and then you've got to wait for them to build the thing. So yeah, like he's actually building like essentially actual taiko drums. It's like that's amazing. But I think I'll settle for the official Hori one when it's cheap enough. But yeah, that's what I've mostly been playing. I've also been playing a lot more Columns 2. I kind of feel like I kind of hate it.
Hate it stress-wise, or hate it because you just
hate it stress-wise. Like, how did they take one of the most kind of relaxing puzzle games? Like, Columns 1 was such a chill frigging game for the most part, except for when it speeds up occasionally. But like the music was really pleasant. Yeah, there wasn't any pressure. Flash Columns was always quite simple in the first one on the Mega Drive. But what did they do with the second one? It's just so stressful and evil, and just the music is so annoying. None of the music is good. It's all horrible. like the first game, you got all those really pleasant songs, and then in this one, you just got brown, brown, brown. It's just like, shut up! Stop stressing me out. Like every time you get anywhere near the top of the screen, which on some of the levels is instantly, you just get this. It's like, shut up. Shut up! I actually have to mute the game to play it, because otherwise it just drives me insane. I think I've managed to get up to level, I think it was 17 now. And I think I beat a few after 18, because you can go into a mode that just lets you pick the levels. So I've been just sort of like, if I get stuck on a level, I just pick a different one. And I think I managed to beat like 19 and 20 and maybe 21. But like, I don't know what it is about the levels that have the number 7 in them, but they're just impossible. I don't know what it is. 7 took hours. 17 has taken hours, and I've yet to get anywhere in that one, because it's literally at the top of the screen, and the second you start, unless your first move does something, you're boned. Like, it's impossible. It's ridiculous. I would love to unlock all the Sega waifus, I guess, but like, it's just it's too stressful. It's far too. It's one of the most stressful puzzle games I think I've ever played. Like I've had to like save state sponge some of the levels just to get through them because if it was like set patterns, every time you continued, it would be fine because you could sort of learn it. But no, they randomize every freaking time, so it's like if you just let it. Yeah, like if you let it fill up and then continue, it's just a completely different board. So like if I got lucky and a big combo set off, I'll just save state and then just keep try and eventually beat it that way. And that kind of worked on some levels, like I was just save state sponging my way through, which is really cheap and kind of doesn't make you feel satisfied with it. But then none of it is very satisfying anyway because all the levels just feel seemingly random. And there's no like aha moment with any of it. It just feels like pure luck. Like it feels like pure luck if you actually get a combo or anything.
I mean, I like I say, I think I've mentioned on the other podcast. I never really grew up with. I grew up with columns, quotation marks, but I was never like big into columns because of the Puyo Puyo thing, and I never really understood how one plays columns well. Like I do with Puyo Puyo. I just don't understand what you're supposed to do to do.
See, I until recently I was the opposite. Like I grew up on columns. Like me and my sister played tons of it on the Mega CD Sega Classics collection back as wee children. And my sister was an absolute master at it. She would get to level 99 almost every time she played it. At one point, she was like playing it for like an hour and getting to level 99. I was like, "How are you doing this?" But I think there was a point where I could sort of get there, but like I don't know. The first game, the thing I like about the first game is it does speed up, but then it slows back down pretty quickly. And I think the second one does that as well. But the problem with the second one is the levels are just so like it's so stacked near the top sometimes that it's just impossible. And unless you got to make almost every single move count, otherwise you're just gonna fill the screen up. It's not doing my like mental health any good. Like you play it and like you end up playing it for like 2 hours on the straight just trying to beat one level, and you finally beat it and you're not like, oh, what a leap. You're just like, I don't want to play this for a few days now. It's like I need to take a break from this.
It's not made by the creator of the original game, is it?
Is it not?
No,
that probably makes some sense.
Yeah, I think I saw an interview about the Sega Ages version. It was talking about the guy who did do the sequel, and he was talking about how he got brought on board for it.
Oh, I see.
So yeah,
because they did throw in like the first game as well, but unfortunately the first game doesn't have any online rankings, which I thought was a bit of a shame. The other thing with columns too as well is I just have to play exclusively on Skull Smash mode because the game is stressful enough without the friggin' skull pieces appearing randomly, almost always where you are just about to do something, and then just making the screen go even further up, and that horrible noise it makes every time a skull shows up. Just
trash Puyos, isn't it? Where it just drops exactly where you need to place the next
every
block.
time, like it's like, there's 3 yellows just there that I'm about to thing, and then dang 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 dang, and then there's a skull right there. It's like, oh, thanks. Now I've got to try and last second think of something else to do. And you can't even like, well, you can pause the game, but you can't pause the game and look at the screen.
No,
I found the only way you could do that is if you do a save state, then it will show you a screenshot of where you are. So I'll just look at that tiny screenshot and go, where should I put the next one?
The thing is the skulls, I wouldn't mind, but there's no way to remove them. Like with trash Puyos,
no, there isn't.
You pop near them and then they disappear. But in this, it's like if that appears, that's it. That's there for the whole game now.
Yeah, until you pop it, and just if you've got enough space to allow it to happen, then yes. Yeah. Sometimes they appear right by the actual flash columns as well, so you have to hit them to get the flash columns. It's like, I just play the Skull Smash mode. It basically just disables the skulls.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that game. I do technically have that game on a Saturn because there is a Sega Ages collection that has 4 columns games on it, including 2. But because it didn't have any real incentive to play it, it was just the arcade game. I never really played it a lot. I just remember thinking the music was crap for the most part
Yeah.
compared to
Visually
the first game.
nice.
Oh yeah, it looks fine and all. I kind of don't like any of the themes outside of the traditional one. Like,
yeah.
I feel like they're all a bit too busy. Like, the original gem look is just easy to read, whereas going to them other ones, it's just like squiggly nonsense.
Or like
the
shells
fossils.
or anything.
Yeah, like weird little fossil things. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's
I
kind of
can't
readable,
pass
but
it.
yeah, it's not as instantly passable as columns, especially if you've been playing the first game most of your life. Like,
Yeah.
going to the second one,
Can
it's like,
turn
what are
that
these?
off though.
You can just make it columns 1 mode, but then you only get one piece of music, which is thankfully the most tolerable song in the game.
Well, I
to
say mute
fucking
it and then just put columns
twang.
1 music on YouTube.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, actually. that's a fault. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's basically all I've been playing, really. I played a tiny bit of Phantasy Star Online 2. I'd like just started it up, but I didn't really play enough of it to really gauge any opinions on it yet. I literally played it for less than an hour. Just did like the first story.
Yeah,
thing,
I know the
really,
controls.
with that really annoying Australian character or whatever.
Australian or
it's just like,
attempted
mate,
British.
mate, look at these wankers. It's just like, what? He actually said that. I was like, oh.
I know.
That came out of nowhere. Oh, he was annoyed. I'm glad he ran off after that mission. I was like, okay, don't come back ever again. I presume he does.
I thought these kind of annoyances were reserved for Phantasy Star Universe, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't think they learned anything from that game. Let's not put annoying characters. No, let's. Everyone loves annoying characters. Just say mate at the end of every sentence. But yeah, I haven't really played enough of that to really. It's definitely different combat wise. I think it might just be because the character I picked, I suppose. I think what was the one I picked? I think it was called like a bouncer or jumper or something like that.
The boxer type, is it?
I think it's like, well, I picked a robot that could basically, he sort of dashes into things and sort of kicks them or something.
Yeah.
I might change it at some point to a different one. I might go back to like guns or something because that's kind of what I'm used to from the first
You can
one.
change whatever you want in this one, so that's good.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right,
Yeah.
maybe I'll dabble in other styles and see what I prefer because it seemed alright. It just seemed a bit mashy. Like I just kept dashing into things and smacking things over and over and over again. I don't know. I need to give it a bit more time to click with it, I suppose.
Yeah.
As I say, there's loads of different styles of gameplay, so maybe I should dabble, make some more characters or something.
I think it is quite varied.
Yeah, I'll have to see what the other styles are like. Maybe something will click, because I don't feel like that did. Like, it seemed alright, but like, it seemed a bit, I don't know how to describe it, just a bit mashy. Kind of like the combat in Ninjala or something, where you're just kind of just smashing away at something. You can't really tell if you're being hit or if you're hitting it. Just a load of noise happening. I found the sound effects were really loud in this game. Might have to turn them down. But yeah, that's basically what I've been playing.
Shall I go next then?
Go on.
Yeah, okay. So I bought Slay the Spire on the Switch the other day.
Oh,
earlier
cool.
in the week. Yeah, because it's a game I've had on my radar for ages. Everyone talks about like how good of a deck building game it is. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a bash, you know. And because one of my favourite authors was talking about it on one of his streams, and he was saying about how as a single player game, you don't have to worry about balance, and it's just a game where you can just make the most broken decks, the most like sort of disingenuously broken decks. So I was like, okay, that sounds fun. So yeah, I've been playing it. It's pretty good. It's like I say, it's a roguelike. And you'll start the game with one of 3 classes, or 4 as you unlock them, and they're very different. Like their play styles are completely unlike one another, and there are universal cards, and then there are cards that are coloured specifically for that character, and they have several builds you can make with them that are viable, but they're all unique to that character. And yeah, without getting too much into it, it's if you like games where you can spend ages just thinking about, should I pick this card or should I not, because it's one of those games where when you run out of cards in your deck, you just shuffle it back in and then you draw them again. So there's a lot of benefit on having a small deck. And when I say small, like 10, 15 cards. Because you're always going to get those cards back again. And if they're the cards that are really viable for your strategy, then you're always going to get the good ones instead of the rubbish ones. So there's a lot of strategy, and sort of you can in the shop pay them money to take a card out of your deck. So yeah,
so it comes back round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know, if you've got like the basic attack card, you'll soon have better cards than that. So you might as well just remove it from the deck permanently, because it's only your better card's only going to cycle round quicker if you do. So you get rid of junk and try and draw cards that benefit your play style. And I've beat it a couple times. I've been enjoying that. I think it's a game I could sink a lot into.
It sounds like one that you can get a lot. It has a lot of depth.
Yeah,
Go along.
I hesitate to say that it's like Darkest Dungeon. It's not really, but kind of, where it's like bad luck can go your way a lot, and you just will not get cards that benefit the sort of synergy you're trying to build. But I've been playing that, and for a little while, a few days now, I've been playing Etrian Odyssey Untold 2 Fafnir Night, which is a bit of a mouthful of a title.
Repeat that one? I did not. I did not catch a single word of that. It was just like words.
Etrian Odyssey Untold 2 Fafnir Night.
Right.
Etrian Odyssey. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, those Atlas dungeon crawlers.
Yes. I just heard the last few words. I was like, what? I didn't even catch the beginning. I just heard fluff something. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I played the first one. I've played it since they came out on the DS, but only the first game on DS ever came out in Europe, so I had to import the second and third one. But it's really annoying when that happens.
These are the games with Yuzo Koshiro soundtracks, aren't they?
Yes, that's the one.
That's how I know.
It's a bloody good soundtrack. Pretty much every single game has a fantastic soundtrack. And I played through the first one maybe a couple years ago now, and the Untold games are essentially remakes of the first and second game, but with a story mode, because normally you just make a custom party and it's very much like the original Wizardry or what have you, and you'll just go through the dungeon. They're very hard games. It's sort of one of those things where you go into the dungeon, you'll make a few steps, and you kind of have to go back to town after a couple battles because you're out of MP or what have you. Yeah. So but one of the selling points of that series is the fact that you map your own dungeon on the touchscreen.
I heard about this. Yeah, you actually sort of construct some of it yourself, so you make your own path, kind of thing. You like say you will have to do the map. You have an auto mapper which will do like floors and walls as you go past them on their own if you want to.
Okay. Or you and then you just have to fill in chests and event squares and shortcuts. But
interesting.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. Pretty.
Just put a load of gold in this corner.
Yeah.
Just all the gold and all the health.
But it's a good upgrade to this game, because you can just play classic mode if you want, and that will just put you the same game as the original. Oh, nice. With the set, make a custom party and just go through the game, or you can do the story mode, which I think is better because you get that, or at least first time, because you get that pre-built synergy between characters. What was it? I mainly decided to buy it because they have it on sale on 3DS, the 5th and the 6th one, which is just called Nexus. Oh yeah. And I don't know if you know, but the 5th game is really expensive now. Physically, it's just really hard to find. It's like 60
I
quid.
think I saw about that. Yeah, there's quite a lot of Atlas games on the 3DS right now that are much cheaper digital than they are physical.
Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse is like 130 quid, and it's like it's not even that old. I think it's just like Deep Silver. They just like print a very small number as a publisher in Europe.
Yeah,
so,
that does sound about right.
Yeah. So I just decided, I was thinking I'd like to own them all physically, but I just can't justify it. So I decided to get 5
because it was only £8.
£8, yeah. So
it's a bit of a difference.
It's a bit of it's like, I like physical as much as the next guy, but in this case.
I feel the same now. Like if the digital's way cheaper, then I just think like sometimes like it depends on the game, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the game a fair bit. In this case, it was just a case of without
£8.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, this is only £8. I think I'll take the £8.
Yeah, exactly. And not to sound derivative to Etrian Odyssey, because I love the games, but they are very similar. You play one, you play them all in the broad strokes. So it's like, if I ever did want to replay, if I did want to replay the games, I would like to experience 5. But in the future, if I'm like, oh darn, I don't have a physical copy of 5, and my 3DS is broken, so I don't have it anymore, I can at least just play any of the other Etrian Odyssey games, and I'm getting mostly the same experience.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. And one thing I do like is the Untold games. They have like orchestrated music as the upgrade, but they do give you the option to go into the menus and turn on the FM sound. So
I'm trying to remember where it was now. I think it was someone on YouTube was doing a video about Yuzo Koshiro's like musical history, like with games, and he was talking about the fact that they deliberately made those game soundtracks sound like specific old computers.
It feels like it. Yeah, I mean, to me, it has a very Mega Drive sound.
I think it's supposed to be based on like PC-88, which had a very similar.
Yeah, and he's quite prolific on the PC-88, so that would make sense.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, you did IS.
Yeah, exactly. You did.
Do it again.
Yeah, and the only thing that does annoy me is like that's built into Untold 1 and 2, but in like 5 and Nexus, you have to pay for the FM sound.
Is it a DLC?
Yeah, it's a DLC. It's only like £2. But it's like I actually just want to get them.
Yeah, it really annoys me when they do things that are like unlockable, and then in the next game it's DLC.
Yeah, because they set a precedent. It's like these Untold games came out first, and now they're like, we can carve it up and charge extra.
Yeah,
and it's annoying because you've already shown that you're prepared to put it in the game for free. So it's not like Untold doesn't have DLC. It's minor DLC for the most part, but
at least it's cheap DLC.
Yeah, exactly. My worry is by the time I get round to playing 5 or Nexus, the 3DS eShop might be closed, and then I won't be able to access it. So I might have to just buy it now. Yeah, and it's that tricky thing that I see with a few games. Mass Effect 2 was the first one that did this. It reminded me of this. Is they have which is kind of related to something later, but they have a store within a store, like the storefront within the game. So whenever there's a sale, it just doesn't affect any of the DLC, because they have their own little storefront within the game. So all the Etrian Odyssey DLC is not on the eShop as a separate thing. You have to load up the game and then do it.
Yeah.
So that's never going to get cheaper.
Yeah. So it's like their own separate little store.
Yeah, Mass Effect 2
it doesn't
did that.
take you to like the eShop or anything.
Nope. Yeah, it's annoying because I don't know if they did it like on purpose so the sales wouldn't affect it, because I would imagine that harms sales if anything, because a lot of these DLCs I would probably purchase if they were cheaper. If this was a 70% discount like 5 was, I would have just bought all the DLC up as well.
Yeah.
But
well, a lot of the time when games go on sale on the eShop, at least on the Switch, I find, even when the game goes on sale, very rarely the DLC does. Like the only exception I can think of is like Dragon Ball FighterZ. The DLC for that goes on sale occasionally, but there's some games on there like Taiko no Tatsujin that's been on sale loads of times on the eShop, and I go rushing over to the DLC, and it's like, nope, that's all full price still.
And they're both Bandai as well, aren't they? Namco.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're not consistent.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think it's like Riven games in general. I think again it might be a music rights thing where it's like we can't sell this for any cheaper than we're selling it for because of the license. It's very possible. Yeah,
like with the Lego thing again, it's like not that Lego's ever cheap, but anything that's of a license automatically becomes a lot more expensive. The Star Wars stuff is just a lot more expensive than it normally would be, just because they have to pay Disney for it. So but I haven't. That's all I've really been playing. I haven't been playing much, to be honest. Other than that, just sinking hours into
cool.
RPGs.
Got some cool, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Well-
sorry, before you go on, I just completely forgot. I feel really bad about this for not mentioning that Elk couldn't make it.
Yeah, I think. Did you mention earlier? I can't
I
remember.
don't think I
No,
did.
you
I'm
didn't.
pretty certain I didn't. And I
I
feel
was trying
really
to
bad.
mention-
He's in the thumbnail and everything, and I'm just like, yeah, he couldn't make it today, basically. Something came up, something personal came up, so he couldn't make it. So, yeah, sorry, it's taken almost an hour to mention it.
I did try to
I
say
feel
it, but-
really bad.
I was trying
I
to say
feel
it,
like
but
we
my
just
mic muted.
completely, we didn't deliberately completely ignore him, honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, JT.
Alright, well, I'm playing the game right now, and I'm playing Pokemon Crystal. Oh, yeah,
A Pokemon game.
the worst is over. I gave 7 berries to the mill tank that was ill, and
Okay.
that's like one of the big. I swear, both of the like roadblocks in that game is either that mill tank in one of the gyms, and then the other mill tank that's ill and needs to eat like 7 regular berries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like a hard boss or anything,
No.
but like a
Oh.
cow that's in the way.
Yeah.
Just blocking the door.
Or,
Just like, give
yeah.
me some berries.
Yeah, and
I mean,
what
is
it
this
is?
Sorry, is this the Game Boy Color version or is this the
Yeah, it's the Game Boy Color one.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Playing it on the 3DS, but
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, yeah, it's like lost my train of thought.
Your tank on the brain.
Yeah.
The
So
hard
yeah,
part's over.
yeah. So you like there's that, and then a few other little roadblocks like just grinding and all that.
As RPGs do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
And then I've also been hopping between Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and Dr. Mario World on mobile, and Mario P-Cross.
Oh yeah, you've almost got to the end of the cross now, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
You got to like the last Wario bit, I think.
Yep.
Like the special
Ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw he did a little bow just like Mario does, but his was a bit more begrudgingly bowing. It was just like, fine,
Yeah.
you beat me. Wah.
Ah, but you got this final lot yet?
Yeah, you got to do the Ultra ones now.
Yeah.
And then you'll be done, I think. 100%ed it almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Is
learned
that-
I learned
Sorry.
something new about Pokemon as well. Basically about what determines like a male and a female one.
What, in Pokemon? Like
Yeah.
any other games or?
Yeah. It's
Oh.
all to do with the stats.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And different species have like different like ratios as well. So say you got one where only like 1 in 8 ends up being a female, or then you get others that are like 50-50, ones that are like 1 in 4. Yeah. That's why most of the time when you get your starters, you very, very rarely get a female one.
Yeah, they're almost always male.
Yeah. Interesting. I
Yeah,
did not know
and
that.
what makes it female as well? It's a particular. I think it's the attack stat. It's like lower than usual, so I think I can sort of tell by now. And the reason I wanted to look it up was because I was transferring some Geodudes from my Pokemon Blue to Pokemon Bank.
Oh yeah.
And
so-
when I loaded them into Ultra Moon, it was coming up with their genders. And I was like, oh, how did it do that? How does it know what it is?
Yeah,
They
it
must
must
have it in its data in some fashion.
Yeah, it's certainly something to do with the stats.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, just whatever the numbers are, it
Yeah.
determines it based on that, I guess.
Yeah, Pokemon has a lot of like weird maths,
Yeah.
which is also why there's also the shiny Pokemon and Pokébus as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you went into the whole Pokerus thing on one of our streams, didn't you? When you were
Yeah.
playing Sword, you had a Pokemon amongst them that you got sent to you from
Yeah.
trading that had it,
Yeah.
and its stats just kept skyrocketing or something.
2 of its stats were, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what
Don't they-
it does.
Don't they have like super shinies now or something as well?
Super shiny.
Yeah, I think in Sword and Shield they said something about they're not any different in the same way Shiny's not any different, but there's like an extra little effect on a very rare Pokemon or something.
Oh.
I don't.
There's, just a tiny little diamond that flashes up
All right.
around the Pokemon.
Oh.
It's like ShelvedGamer said, it's not anything different. It's just extra animations,
Huh.
Yeah.
Weird.
stuff to brag about.
Okay.
I presume that's even rarer than shinies.
Yeah.
Like,
Is it even rarer than
shiny
Pokerus? Even?
I don't know about that actually. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd love to play Pokemon Green sometime, just
Oh, yeah.
because it's so janky.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like the original Green. It's
Is
been
that why we didn't get it?
Yeah, basically when Red and Blue came, because what happened in Japan is Green and Red came out,
Yeah.
and then Blue was kind of like an enhanced edition. But Red had the same sprites as Green and the same code as Green, but when they released it here, they used the same code for Blue in Red here. So all the sprites.
So we got like an enhanced version of Red as well then.
Yes, Japan never got that.
Yeah.
So they have parity Blue and Red here, whereas in Japan they don't. So yeah, apparently the Green and Red in Japan were an absolute mess. So yeah, I'd like to see that.
I think I emulated it one time, and it was all in like sort of gobbledygook, a bit like the Vietnamese crystal.
Oh yeah,
And and it's volcano baked meat.
Yeah, no, it's volcano baked meat glory.
Like,
is it? I presume there's fan translations of Green then.
there are. Yeah,
oh yeah.
Ones. I would have thought so.
good ones now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would have thought so.
What? But like, what is volcano baked meat supposed to mean? Is it like?
What is it even a translation of?
Is it? I don't know. Is it
Spicy beef curry?
Could be, or it could be like a poketail, like a slow poke tail.
Yeah.
It's really spicy. No, I've seen somebody try to make one, and it was just a whole slab of like chili or something.
What, someone actually made something called a volcano baked meat?
I think so. like baked chili or something.
Okay then.
Yeah.
I like those 3 words. I'm gonna make an actual meal out of them.
Yeah.
Out of them words.
Yeah. Alright, but that's about all I've been playing, really.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I guess that's what we've been playing. Yeah. I guess we shall move on to the news. Right. So there's one really big thing that's been going on, and I guess we could touch on it, but I don't really have that much investment in it. Like really. No. And you know, I'll put anything I say will probably come out as like some kind of uninformed hot take, so I'm probably not going to elaborate too much on it, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm sure everyone's heard about the whole thing that's going on with Apple and Epic and Fortnite on iOS, and how basically Epic baited Apple into banning Fortnite from iOS devices. So I think what happened is they basically updated the game, so there's another way to buy the game's currency. What is it, fee banks or whatever they're called?
Oh, V-Bucks.
V-Bucks.
Yeah. They basically found that they put in this update that basically lets you just buy them directly from Epic without going through Apple's like 30% cut based.
Yeah,
stuff.
kind of like what I was saying about the discount when you make your own storefront on games like, you know, Etrian Odyssey and stuff.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned that, I was thinking of this. I was like, oh yeah, it's like, what's going on with this? Yeah, so they made this little update. Obviously, it was breaking Apple's terms of service, so they immediately removed it. And Epic clearly planned for this. This was very calculated. Like, they knew what they were doing. Like, they did this on purpose so they could immediately sue Apple. And they even put out this really elaborate, kind of cringy, but also kind of funny trailer where they basically parodied one of Apple's old commercials. Like the girl running in and throwing the hammer at this like dictative screen, except it was like this Apple bloke, like a literal apple-headed guy or something. It's very strange. This is a weird year, guys. This is a very weird year. Like, we've got a multi-million company basically getting 12-year-olds and kids to fight against another multi-million-dollar company or billion-dollar company, billions and another billion-dollar company. It's basically two massive conglomerates fighting it out. It's very strange, and it's only gotten weirder as the week's gone on, because not only is because of the whole, like Epic's suing them over like their terms of service, the whole 30% cut that Apple gets for every single sale, including V-Bucks or DLC or anything, basically, because they're using their service and their hardware, obviously. This isn't unusual. This isn't a thing that only Apple does. I forgot to mention they also got banned from Google Play as well, which is not as big of a deal because there are many other ways to put stuff on an Android phone. Not just illegally, but also legally.
There are other storefronts.
You don't have to use Google Play to download Android games. There are plenty of other ways to get that stuff. But in the case of Apple, obviously, it's a walled garden, just like the consoles, just like technically Steam and even Epic Game Store. They're all closed gardens.
It's a closed system.
They all take percentage cuts, including Epic Game Store. I think they take less than Steam. I think it's something like 17% or something like that. But I think there's other stipulations that make it different in some way to Steam. But anyway, I think this is basically Epic are trying to get Apple. They're trying to coax Apple into bringing that percentage down, or maybe even making it so other people can have storefronts on iOS devices. For example, Epic Game Store, they would like to have an Epic Game Store available to download and use, and then obviously Apple don't get any money from that, which obviously they don't agree with. But not only have they banned Fortnite, I think all it has actually technically done is it stopped it from anyone new downloading it. But I think if you already have it, you can still technically play it. But I'm not sure what's going to happen as soon as the game needs a update across all formats.
Which will probably be quite regularly.
Yeah, I presume it's very regularly, considering how much they do in that game. As soon as it needs an update, they won't be able to update it on iOS. So the iOS version is going to become probably unplayable eventually. I don't know how that works. But not only have they done this on both Google and Apple, Apple have also said they're going to take away... what's the specifics of it?
Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Every Unreal, Yeah,
I think it's something to do with, like, they're going to take away the ability to use Epic's
framework
on iOS. So, like, if you're a developer that uses Apple products to do stuff in Unreal Engine, you won't be able to do that anymore.
Which puts a lot of these developers who have games on the storefront in a similar position with the update thing.
Like how it's
this strikes me as petty, if you ask me.
Incredibly petty. I feel like both sides are being incredibly petty.
Yeah.
I don't like using both sides arguments, but and here comes the hot takes. But like, I feel like neither. I don't really support either of them at this point. Like, it's very obvious. Epic has done this as a publicity stunt. They've done it.
They're playing 4D chess, essentially.
Oh, yeah. They feel like they're playing 4D chess, and they're basically using all the children they've basically gotten addicted to this game as their army, and it's a bit scary. It's a bit
scummy.
It's pretty scummy. At the same time, Apple are, they've got issues. Apple have got issues. They've always had issues, and them saying they're basically going to cut like Unreal Engine support full stop from like Apple products is incredibly petty and insane. Like, how's that even going to work? This isn't just going to affect Epic. This is going to affect anyone that uses Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine is probably, well, it is probably the most used engine, like middleware engine outside of like Unity, I suppose. Like, maybe, I don't know which one's used more, but in terms of like bigger games, it's most likely Unreal. Like, I don't even know where this is gonna go. Like, it's mad. Like, has Epic even got a chance to win this lawsuit, or is Apple just gonna trample all over them? It's very, very strange. Like, I don't have much investment in this. I don't play Fortnite. Obviously, I'm not a game developer. I think that's where maybe Apple have crossed the line. Like, they're like affecting actual game developers outside of Epic. They're affecting thousands, probably tens of thousands of developers by doing this.
Yeah, I mean, they're both juggernauts, and principally, I agree with the idea of attacking Apple's policy on how much they take. Not to say that others don't take a lot as well. I think Steam take a lot as well. You know,
well, all of them do. Nintendo does, Sony does, Microsoft does. They all take quite a big percentage from the sales because you're using their hardware, you're using their store. That's their justification. But, that's
their process. But like, just the general Apple attitude of having this sort of closed system that is, it does create this sort of like, if you use Apple, you do it their way. Or
exactly, yeah.
Not at all. And that's bad. But I don't agree with the Epic's reasoning, because obviously it's just profit driven. Because they're not your friends. You know,
they just want that percentage down so they make more money when they already make billions from this one game.
It's nothing to do with principles for them, you know.
No, not really. No,
they're just coming out
like it is. They're acting like it is. It's like, oh, don't let 2020 become like another 1984, and it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
what are you doing? How many kids that play Fortnite are even going to understand that reference?
Yeah.
Like, or that parody trailer. It's probably the first time they've even seen that.
Even the parents of the kids probably don't even get that reference.
No, exactly. Like, it's a pretty obscure thing. It was like an advert, like where Apple was rebelling against IBM computers and being like, they all think differently. You know, it wasn't quite the same thing. It was a very different thing. It was basically them just saying, oh, you don't have to have an IBM computer. You can have a different kind of computer. That's all it was. That's all that advert was. But yeah, I don't know. This is all very odd, and I don't know what to make of it. And it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, I guess. But
I think the best outcome would be for both of them to lose, essentially. You know,
that would be all right. Or I don't know, find some kind of compromise in the middle somewhere. Like, I don't know. If if Apple did bring down their percentage, even if it was just by like 5-10%. That would be a massive benefit for a lot of smaller developers, like who basically barely make a penny from their games. Like,
I mean, don't forget these mobile games. They have to do these transactions, and probably part of the reason they're as scummy as some of these mobile games can be is because of the sheer amount of cut that Apple takes.
Yeah,
and
you know, that's totally true. Yeah,
you know, and
makes me wonder about like if Epic did somehow win some kind of way in this lawsuit and got their way and basically made more money off iOS, do you think they would end up going like, be right, we've done that, now let's see if we can get everyone else to do the same? They start going after the console manufacturers or something like that. I'm just curious where that would go.
Yeah, this is the only thing. It could set a dangerous precedent, and who gets to say where the line is. They say 30% is a lot. I agree, but some people are going to say 10% is a lot, you know, and where does it end?
Oh, we want 0. You just do whatever we want. It's just like,
exactly.
They're going to open up the door.
Yeah, I don't think you could just, yeah. Once you open this Pandora's box, it's one of those kind of things, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I think it's going to create a very sticky area for a lot of people. I think a lot of storefronts are going to become very different climates depending on how this turns out. So.
Yeah, I think the first, because I think this literally all happened while I was doing the last Splunky stream, and like the chat just came up with it. I was just like, what? what does this even mean? Like, when it came up, I was like, what's happening? Like, why is Apple removing Fortnite? And then people explained it was like some kind of TOS abuse or whatever, and I was just like, okay. And like everyone was chatting about it in the stream, and I was like trying to play Splunky. I was like, I don't know what's happening. What is this year? What is? I'm just trying to get to hell. Like, I mean, this year is hell, but you know.
Yeah, it feels like you're already there.
Yeah, like it's been a very weird one, and I feel like some of this gaming news that's been happening has made it even weirder. But yeah,
All right.
I don't know what.
Right, going into the subject of 1984 and George Orwell.
Oh, segue.
There was like another little bit of news came up.
Yeah.
You want to read it out, Rick?
Yeah, I suppose I can do. So yeah, very recently, a game development team, which I do not know the name of, and I apologise.
I can bring it up if you want. I've got a little article about it.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially, we're getting a video game adaptation. I'm not sure if it's an adaptation, but of Animal Farm, which is George Orwell's other famous book. And I think I'm to understand it's kind of like a novel, but also it has some elements that are choices and stuff. I'm not 100% sure. We don't get much from the trailer.
Yeah, I'm basically looking at the article now. So they announced this game on the 75th anniversary of the book, which I thought was amazing. Yes. Like, it just kept coming up on Twitter that, you know, it was the 75th anniversary of Animal Farm. I was like, oh, that's neat. And then just out of nowhere, oh, there's a video game. I was like, what? Yeah, apparently it's like an adventure game, maybe point and click adventure kind of deal. Let's see what it says. It's been developed by, or it's been published by a publisher called the Dairymen, and it's by the developers of Reigns.
Okay.
Which was like if I remember rightly, that's that one where it was like a sort of card game where you had to choose like different paths to take or something like that. If it's the game I think it is. But yeah, it's supposed to be coming out on Steam and mobile like later in the year. Yeah, let's see what it says. By choosing which animal wishes have a quick look. But,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, as I say, the trailer was pretty much just a teaser. It didn't really show much of what the game is, but it has got like hand illustrated, painted artwork, and looks like it's. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting that we're getting a game based on Animal Farm.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that was. I reread that earlier this year actually, and it's something that I've always loved. That book and the BBC animated show from when I was younger. Not when I was younger; it's a lot older than me. But yeah, it's just interesting. I think it's a interesting type of adaptation because it's a touchy subject, Animal Farm, and.
Some would say, and I'm pretty sure the developers of the game have said this in interviews themselves, some would say the book's more relevant now than ever.
Yeah, I think
like in some ways, like if you really want to go there, like there's some stuff in there that's got some pretty big parallels with stuff that's been going on. But yeah, we don't have to go into that kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if like this game is going to be just completely retelling the events of the game or the book, or if it's going to be like maybe you can change the outcome. Maybe spoilers for a book from the 1940s, I think. Maybe you can make it turn out quite well this time. You know,
maybe you can spoilers for a 1950 movie. Make it like the end of the movie and change the ending from the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be interesting if you could do that. If you could make it so, you could do this another way. But maybe that goes against the ethos of the book. Maybe the ethos is this is unavoidable. It's only a matter of time with a situation like this. So, I've seen some of the pictures. There's a picture of like it looks like some kind of strategy element where the farmers are attacking, and you can sort of place the animals as a sort of defense.
Yeah.
got, like boxer getting beaten up on the front
Yeah,
lines
I can
as he
see
would.
that. Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, yeah.
Apparently, it's been directed by Kate Saxon, who worked on games including Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Alien Isolation, Witcher 2 and 3.
Oh.
And it's going to be narrated by someone who played a role in Assassin's Creed Origins, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think he played Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. I don't play Assassin's Creed, so I don't know who that is. But either way, that actor is doing all the narration, so it's going to be fully narrated. Yeah, sounds. It's just really interesting. I don't know. It's just you don't really see video games that are like based directly on books like this often.
Not really, no.
I mean, it happens sometimes, but I guess the games are like so. You know, they're they're not based on massive books, like massive.
I can only think of one, which is Around the World in 80 Days.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not 100% sure, but there was like the F&B game called Tender Loving Care. I thought that. Was that a book? No.
I'm not sure.
Sure.
There was. It's not really based on the book as such, but there was the War of the Worlds game on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah, as well.
Yeah.
That was more Jeff Wayne's version.
Yeah, you can tell that game was like even the front cover of that game was sort of evoking the album cover. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a start of something. Maybe there's a lot of books I feel like have a lot of purpose and could be adapted into interesting video games.
Yeah, I think like we're seeing it because we've obviously seen a lot of narrative-driven games in recent years that do that kind of thing really well, and to take a book and give it an interactive element is really interesting.
Actually, I know there's a DS game that's based on the James Patterson books of like the Women's Murder Club.
Oh, right.
You know, like books
Are they
like
actual games or?
I think it's just a one game. But,
yeah.
You know, because Women's Murder Club's like a series of like novels that are about like a group of like women cops and that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you read the books.
I've read 6 of them so far.
Yeah, I think there are quite a few, especially that came out on PC in like the 90s and stuff that were like.
Yeah, and,
hang on, I could literally bring up the. There we go. Oh
yeah.
You can see the screenshots.
The pig.
Now. I'll bring up the screenshots so people can see them, so they're not just like having to guess what they are. There we go. Yeah, so there's like one of those strategy things. So yeah, this was just making me think about like. You know, this is happening. If this does really well, do you think there'll be other books, like classic books, adapted into video games? And what if there's any books that you particularly like that you'd like to see given this kind of treatment? What would they be?
We could think. We could think of a couple, can't we?
I could think of a few as well.
Oops. How about Watership Down, where it's like realistic rabbit combat?
Oh god, so like turn-based rabbit
or
scratching
Tokyo
each
Jungle.
Other's eyes out.
Yeah, like Tokyo Jungle, but with just rabbits and
or like Pokemon, but actually violent.
Yeah.
Or just like crab battle.
Oh god, yeah. Watership Down would be a freaky one.
Or like if there was a point in it where you could get Keyhar to do some dirty work for you.
I mean, I don't know how well known Watership Down is outside of like the UK, but yeah, that was nightmare fuel for me.
I think the film's pretty infamous outside of the UK as well.
Yeah,
Like
and well, there was that sort of newish series as well that was on BBC the other year, but it didn't turn out that good.
It was alright.
Like,
the voice acting was good.
It had really good voice acting, but it was the look. It looked really dated and. Ugh.
It just looked. Funny enough, it looked like old video game cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something you'd see on the PS2 or something in a way. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, it was a bit of a shame because, like, tone-wise, it was right. But I still think that original 2D one.
Oh, the old film.
The hand-drawn one still gets the point across better.
Yeah. Well, even that sort of other cartoon they did, the series of it, the one that had Stephen Gately sing Bright Eyes, even that had a few like dark moments. It on the outside it looked like it was like toned down.
It looked really cutesy when you
Yeah,
saw like the
but
DVDs of it and stuff. But
apparently I've got to see them for myself, but it does have a few like moments apparently. And,
Yeah.
but like with that recent series, you know, I thought the voice acting was pretty good. Like it had John Boyega playing Bigwig, for example.
no, he was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good in most things, but yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
he was very good in that.
Or-
What if we're gonna get into like? You don't have to strictly be books. I suppose they could also be like graphic novels. I suppose. What if
Yeah.
we had like when the wind blows? No, not when the wind blows.
When the Wind Blows, it is.
Oh yeah, when the wind blows.
You're nearly getting mixed up with Wind in the Willows,
Yeah.
which is
The Willows,
a completely
Yeah.
different
I mean, you
tone.
could do that as well if you want. But
Yeah.
like,
Get David Jason.
what if we had like a virtual reality
Oh,
when the
man.
wind blows game? You just look down at your hands and like your hair's falling out, and
But-
you're just slowly dying with your missus.
You're picking up the leaflets and like thinking, oh, this one says that thing, this one says the other.
Oh,
Which
these are
one's the right?
conflicting. Oh.
Which is the right one?
I think I've read this in school.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I'm
did
sure you
you?
probably have. It's Raymond Briggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't get to hear that till I
You
was
should,
an
you should
adult.
check out the animated film as well.
Oh, the film's pretty good, and
Yeah.
there was actually a few like plays as well. Like I think a couple years ago there was like a play that went out in the local like theatre.
Wasn't there also that radio version?
Oh
that had,
yes. It had Peter Sallis, the voice of Wallace and Gromit, playing as James Bloggs.
Yeah.
Oh, he was really good in that. He made him sound absolutely like he's absolutely lost it, which like you don't get to hear Peter Sallis like freak out like the way he does in that. And it's and I think Hilda Bloggs is played by an actress who was in quite a lot of things, but the most I know is she played this mad dog lady in another BBC series called The Mad Death, which is also a book. This was about this was in the 80s about what would happen in the UK if someone smuggled in a rabies infested animal and it spread.
Nice. Oh god,
Yeah.
you showed me the friggin' TV adaptation of that, didn't you?
Yeah, and
With
it
the
was like
friggin'
fox puppets.
fox puppets. That was something.
Ugh.
It was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We could go on for ages.
Books.
Basically, when you think about it, Harry Potter was almost a video game before it was
Oh,
a movie
yeah,
series
as
because
well.
when they were basically shopping around the license for Harry Potter from the books, Nintendo was one of the bidders. Like they actually, yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen this. It was a few years back that it's got revealed, but basically, obviously Warner Brothers won the rights in the end. They had the most money, but one of the people that was bidding was Nintendo, and I think they were intending to make it one of their maybe like a key franchise for Nintendo. Like to think that if that happened, we might have not even got the movies. We might have got the games first, and then maybe the movies after. But like, that's pretty surreal to think about. Like,
That would have been a weird.
that
It might have had good Harry Potter games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have had good Harry Potter games, but not so great movies, I suppose.
Or maybe no movies at all.
Yeah, maybe that's all. Yeah, I mean, I remember liking the look of the Game Boy Color game, but I never played it myself. And
I
maybe
think
it's
they
just
did
because.
start. Now I think about it, I think they actually did start making games of Harry Potter before the films came out. Because I think the first couple were before the movies came out, because they just had like sort of illustrated artwork instead of the actors on the covers. So I think the first few games by EA were technically based on the books, but not the films, because I don't think the films were quite ready yet.
Yeah.
I think that's how it worked anyway. So I guess that did happen technically. Like, but yeah, it could have been Nintendo. Like, it's strange to think of what if that happened.
Yeah, what kind of game would it have been? Like,
Yeah, if Nintendo made it, who knows?
Yeah,
Bloody-
I mean,
Animal Crossing, but with wizards.
the Game Boy Color game was an RPG, a turn-based RPG.
Hmm.
So that
It could have
I
done
was
something
hoping.
like Zelda.
Oh,
Yeah.
that reminds me. There was a book game that does exist, and it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? The Animorphs one.
Oh, what?
Speaking of Game Boy Color, yeah, there's a Animorphs Game Boy Color game, and it is
It's
kind of
it's like
horrendous.
it's like a weird Pokemon clone in a way.
Kind of, yeah. I was looking up a Let's Play, or like some kind of long play of it a while back, weren't we? It was really
Yeah.
bizarre. It was like a proper combat RPG. It was very strange.
Yeah.
Really, really awful sprite work.
Mm,
It's very strange.
yeah.
I feel like we've
Although-
gone out of those days now where you just used to get random licensed games like that, like especially on handhelds like the Game Boy and the DS. You used to just get the most random friggin' like licenses, not even just based on films or TV shows, but yeah, books and stuff like that.
I just think we're at a stage where licensed games. There was a time when licensed games were good, and then there was a time when licensed games were almost universally bad. And I think maybe the money isn't there now. Maybe people just.
I feel like most licensed stuff like that just ends up on phones now.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, this Animal Farm game is this is going to be like a mobile game, but it's also going to be on Steam apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And for all we know, it might end up on consoles eventually. But it looks like it's mostly going to be, point and click.
Oh,
So it makes sense that it's on mobile and
kind of like
Steam
that
first.
other narrative game, Bury Me, My Love.
Yeah, that came out on the Switch in the end. But
Yeah.
that game was basically just imitating a mobile phone screen, wasn't it? And you were having a conversation, and like it was sort of based on what you choose to type in, the story goes in different directions. That was actually really good, that game. I think it's on sale quite often for under £1. So I'd highly recommend that one if you want a narrative game. As I say, it is literally just looking at a mobile screen with text going by, and the occasional image comes up of what's happening. But generally, it is all text based. It's a text adventure.
Visual.
Yeah, it's a text adventure essentially. But it's really good. Right. The only problem with the Switch port is that sometimes you'll get to a certain point in the story and it crashes. But other than that, I think they may have patched that.
I think they patched that back in.
I think they patched it in the
Going
end.
back to what we were saying about like the Animal Farm, where some things are like inevitable. Yeah, Bury Me, My Love is a bit like that.
Oh, what the story was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there isn't. Well,
I mean, the title should give you a bit of a clue.
yeah, there isn't real. There's a lot of bad endings, but there aren't like necessarily good ones either.
Yeah.
Like even the happiest ending isn't like super happy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Right. I guess moving on from that, you know how a couple of weeks ago there was tons of Nintendo prototype stuff. Well, what we've gotten this week isn't quite on the same level, but basically someone by the name of Craig Stitt has come out. He used to work for Sega's Technical Institute studio back in the 90s. Obviously, ex Sega Technical Institute, because everyone that worked there is ex Sega's Technical Institute. They only lasted until sometime in the late 90s, I think. But basically, they were the guys that were responsible for most of the development on Sonic 2. They did stuff. Oh, what other games did they do?
They did do Sonic 3, did they? Or
No,
Sonic
that was,
Spinball?
That was Spinball was them, and then quite a lot of other games on the Mega Drive. Stuff like totally escaping me. We need Elk. We need Elk to remind me what stuff they made. But basically, they made loads of the Western stuff. I think that Garfield game was by them. Stuff like that. But basically, this guy has been in contact with Sega Bits and a few other people in the scene, and he's basically been rummaging around in his garage and pulling out some really interesting stuff that I don't think anyone's seen before. One of which is a character design that I think it was his design. I'm going to pop it up on the stream now. But basically, an unused Sonic character that could have been. Well, it was basically pitched as
Cooper.
Sonic's sidekick for Sonic 2. So
What?
obviously they were, when they were trying to come up with ideas for Sonic 2, because it was mostly made in America at Sega Technical Institute, they were trying to come up with like sidekick ideas. And one of the concepts was Boomer the Turtle. So he found these old sketches, and I think it's Boomer or Boomy or Boom the
Boomy,
Turtle. Either way, he says he can't remember the exact name, but on this sketch here it says Boomy. But basically, yeah, Sonic's sidekick could have been a turtle. And get this, the game mechanics are what kind of kill this idea. So, you know how Tails follows you around in Sonic 2, and sometimes he gets behind and he'll fly back in and all that kind of stuff. If Tails was a turtle, or if this turtle was in place of Tails, he would occasionally fall over on his shell, and you'd have to go back and pick him up.
Blisteringly fast.
Oh yeah, this is such a
bit like
this is a concept. Also, he has an ability to fly over things like spikes and traps and stuff, and Sonic can stand on top of his shell and fly across them, but only if you physically push him up to the speed to get him to fly. That was the concept, apparently. Hang on, I'll find the Sega Bits article.
That's kind of like how like the flickies, when you get hit, they just like disperse everywhere, and it's a pain in the arse to get them all back together.
Yeah. So basically, I'll quote Craig Stitz, what he said about it. For Sonic 2, we needed a buddy, player 2 for Sonic. This little guy was my submission. He would have been tough with the shell, but vulnerable, needing Sonic's help. If he got flipped on his back, he would have to be helped out by Sonic. And he would be able to fly if Sonic pushed him up to speed. Then Sonic would jump up and ride on his back over lava, spikes, etc.
You know what I'm thinking?
Hmm.
Somebody's going to make a fan game out of this.
It's almost it's guaranteed at this point. It's kind of a shame that Sonic Fan Games Expo is only in a few weeks' time, because I'm sure it wouldn't take long for someone to quickly make a sprite of this character and actually make those mechanics happen. I could kind of see why they didn't do this. Let's be honest. When you get out and push. You literally have to push him around to get over spikes and stuff. That's I think I prefer what we ended up with. But it's still fascinating, to see the obvious failed ideas that come up when you do game designs like this, and it's another really important piece of gaming history when you think about it. It's the same way that Sonic himself went through the same thing. They had to decide what animal to use for Sonic as well. They were like, oh, we're going to do an animal, but we don't know what kind of animal. Well, at one point, it wasn't even an animal. Robotnik, but in pajamas, was considered to be the character for the game, the playable character. They were like, oh, yeah. They just threw out a million ideas. They had thousands of ideas for what they were going to do with Sonic, and they whittled it down to an armadillo, a rabbit, and a hedgehog. And I think that documentary that's going to be coming out on Netflix soon is actually going to have an episode about Sonic the Hedgehog, and there's a clip online. I think we talked about this last week, but there is a clip online with Naruto Oshima basically explaining how he flew over to New York, went to the parks there with drawings of these three animals, and most people pointed out the hedgehog as the one they liked best or something. I think that's new information, the fact that he actually basically asked people what they preferred. And
I wonder if that was when he was Needle Mouse.
Yeah, possibly. I think that was just the early concept name, but always interesting to see stuff like this, because obviously when it comes to old retro games, most of this kind of documentation just gets lost, especially Japanese stuff. But the fact that Nintendo even has all that stuff, the only reason we've got it is because someone effectively stole it. Just stole that information. That's the only reason we've even seen all that amazing Nintendo stuff. But in the case of Sega, I think it's a bit more loose, especially when it comes to the American side of things. It's quite clear he literally had these doodles at home, like in his basement. Like he just found these drawings of this little character and was like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing this." But this wasn't the only thing he discovered. So he's got this, but then there was also a game that he was working on for something around 14 months into, like it was worked on for about 14 months. So they were kind of working on, I guess it was, they planned it to be a Sonic spin-off, but then Sega kind of wanted them to make it its own thing. So basically, there's a platformer prototype that's sprung up. You can't actually get the prototype yet. Apparently, he has the ROM, and he even has a photo of the original, what you'd plug into the Mega Drive to test it out. But he hasn't found it yet, but he reckons it's in a box with a load of other Sega stuff. He's saying he has a box of Sega stuff somewhere. I forgot to mention that this guy, he basically works at Insomniac now, so he's worked on stuff like Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, all that kind of stuff. So, it's not like he hasn't gone places, he's gone big places. But, like, it's just interesting to see him digging up all this stuff, and he's saying, "Oh, I've got a prototype of this game knocking around somewhere." It's just I've put up on the stream this little basically animated GIF of what was shown at first. This is all we had for a couple days, like just this animated GIF of one clip he found, because he hasn't found the actual cartridge ROM, whatever you call them, EEPROM. But he has found a VHS that has 12 minutes of footage of it. And I don't know if you heard at the start of the stream, we were playing a little bit of music. That was just music that was in that VHS. If you go on Sega Bits YouTube channel, you can check it out. It's pretty... I'll put up some footage now. The most interesting thing about this footage is the first level of this game is Hidden Palace Zone from Sonic 2.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, because obviously Sonic 2 was being worked on by Sega Technical Institute. Craig, the guy that's releasing all this stuff, actually was the guy that made the Hidden Palace graphics that didn't end up getting used in the final game. So I guess they were going to repurpose it for this game called, I think it's called Astropede. Well, at one point it was called Segapede, and it basically involves this centipede character who has like all different parts that lag behind him that you can collect in the level, and then like if you get hit by an enemy, they fall off, and you can end up with just one, the character with just one piece. His waiting animation is really strange. He basically takes his head off. It's really spooky. He's got like a little gun, so if this did turn out to be a Sonic spin-off, it would have been the first Sonic game with a gun. What's interesting about those, what's quite interesting about the Hidden Palace stuff is there's loads of new tiles here that weren't in the Sonic 2 beta. So it's like an expanded version of Hidden Palace in a way. Like it's got all different, a few extra graphics. It's even still got the big Master Emerald in it, but it just teleports you somewhere into the level.
Do you think this implies that this was being worked on after Sonic 2 went gold?
Oh, I think it definitely was. Yeah, this was definitely done after Sonic 2 because the game was being worked on sometime in 1994.
Yes.
So this was long after Sonic 2. But yeah, they were working on it for 14 months, and then Sega just pulled the plug on it. But yeah, as I say, we got this footage of it. There's 2 levels. There's basically not a lot here. This is just like a little tech demo thing where they're just showing how the character moves around and stuff. Obviously, if you want to see the whole video, I'd suggest going over to Sega Bits. But yeah, I'll just pop that off for a sec. He just blew up. Yeah, so he found that. He found the VHS with that on. And then just, I think it was earlier today, he found something else that he completely forgot about. I'll just bring it up. So, not only have we got, like, that early, like what could have been a Sonic spin-off and also an early design for what eventually ended up becoming Tails, he also found images of a Tails spin-off he was working on. So this game is called... I don't know, I'll find it.
Treasure Tales?
Treasure Tales, that's it. So they were working on a Mega Drive game called Treasure Tales. There is no like playable build of this, and these screenshots that have popped up are literally just proof of concepts that he had on a VHS. He basically found them Again, I'll find what he said about the whole thing. He basically said he found this on a VHS for like a resume of like his work. Obviously, when he was pitching around, once Sega Technical Institute went down, he obviously ended up at Insomniac, and I guess he would probably use stuff like this as like part of his resume. But yeah, apparently it was going to be a kind of isometric puzzle platformer.
You know what that looks like?
Mm.
There was a mini game in The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare that was look like this.
Oh
no,
yeah,
like the sort of
where
Indiana
you're
Jones
jumping
one,
around on the
like right down to the
pillars.
fire and everything, and coloured blocks.
God, yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That level was horrible. In fact, that game was horrible. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. There's a few more screenshots, but as I say, these are technically not screenshots of a working game. They're just proof of concept sprite work, and they're obviously just using a frame of Tales from Sonic 2 to illustrate the idea. But yeah, he literally forgot all about it. It was going to be an isometric platform puzzle adventure game. I mocked up these few static screens. Unfortunately, that's all I remember. In fact, I'd totally forgotten about this until rewatching a VHS resume I had put together in '95 in preparation for leaving Sega. I don't remember how far the game got or anything else about it. All I have is these blurry screen captures from a 25-year-old VHS tape. And he was like, "Oh, has anyone heard of this? Has anyone heard any rumors about it?" And it's like, "Nope. No one in the Sonic community has ever heard of this. This is a completely new thing. Like, this is yet another of one of many, many, many things just from Sega Technical Institute alone that we have now." Because at one point they were working on a game based on the Sonic Sat-AM cartoon.
Oh
yes, I know
And there is that concept video that got out, which again wasn't gameplay as such. It was actually, from what I remember, I think that may have actually been animated on an Amiga, if I remember rightly, because the music in that trailer was most definitely like Amiga mod music. And I think they also did a concept animation on the Amiga for Sonic Spinball, and obviously that got greenlit, but the Sat-AM game did not.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because Sega's one of those companies, I think it's fair to say, when they were around making consoles, they had a lot of first-party games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that made it to shelves, and it's just like, just how many did hit the cutting room floor? You know, just
tons,
how many?
Absolutely tons. Yeah. Like, there's literally a photo of the. Hang on, I'll see if I can pop that up. Yeah, there's a photo of the actual EEPROM of that Astropede game. So it's about, basically he's just looking for it. And he said it's in a box with a bunch of other stuff. Okay. Apparently there's an interview on sonicdatabase.com with him where he mentions there's loads of other games, including a game called Dark Empires and another one called Jester. And basically, we could be looking at a mother load of stuff coming in. If he finds this box and he starts plugging these cartridges in and they still work, and he finds, you know, if he wants them to be dumped or anything, I don't. Obviously, like if he doesn't want them to be dumped, that's fair enough. But like, there's a possibility that kind of stuff might happen. Just all this stuff just happened in the last like week, I guess, and it's just kind of interesting. Like, I always like seeing this kind of stuff. Like, as you know, obviously that Nintendo stuff was thick and fast, and there was tons of it. But it's nice to see the odd like weird little obscurities like this as well. Especially that Boom of the Turtle thing. I thought that was fascinating.
I get the thought process behind that. You know, with the whole, it's funny because hedgehogs are slow, but Sonic's really fast, and then it's like Turtles or Tortoise is slow, but he's actually slow this time. I don't know.
Or it was supposed to be like, oh, for the sequel, you got the character, the animal you'd least expect to be his friend, a turtle or something. I don't know. I can see where they were coming from. Yeah, it's just when they start talking about, oh, you got to physically push him around and pick him up when he falls on his ass. It's just like, I can see why they didn't go with this.
No, real hedgehogs can actually be quite fast.
Yeah,
I guess, like, for their size, I guess. I don't know. As for the centipede thing, it's obviously there's only so much to go by with that, so it's hard to say. Again, I'll have a look at what Craig said about it. Here we go. Myself and Ken Rose went to work. You might recognise the art as being from Sonic 2's Lost Hidden Palace Zone. I figured since it didn't get used in Sonic 2, I might as well use it here and save a lot of time. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see what it says. I also used the... Oh yeah, because elements of Hidden Palace Zone did end up in the first level of Sonic Spinball as well. Just like little like background elements were taken from that level that basically got cut as well. That's basically it so far. There's still quite a lot of cool stuff, I have to say. Like, just for someone to have this in his attic, just be like, oh, I've got all this old historical stuff just lying around.
Surprised it's been kept quiet all this time. Like,
I think it was more just a case of, he was busy working on Insomniac games, and maybe someone from the Sonic community got in contact with him about his time at Sega, and maybe he was like, oh, I found this stuff lying around. It's just sitting in the attic. I'll just dig it out. It's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, the sprite work's really good on that Astropede game for the...
Yeah, I really like the idle animation's quite good. Like, it's really smooth. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's the sort of game that might have been bogged with slowdown on some of the later levels, maybe. But it's it looks.
Depends how it goes about it. Yeah, I presume the whole different appendages that come off at the end is kind of like a health system.
Yeah.
Yes, like that would have been like almost like the rings of this game, but instead it's like body parts. I guess
would have been. Sorry.
Kind of reminds me of the older Crash Test Dummies game, where basically you would run along, and if you get hit, you lose one of your arms, and then you basically lose each limb until you're just like a torso and a head, and just walk around as a torso. That game was funny. Wasn't good, but it was funny. You could just walk around as a torso. But that was that. That's the Sega stuff. One of my favourite things about gaming, and one of my favourite things about the Sonic community, is when they dig up stuff like this, or when this stuff gets discovered. Sonic's history, there's just so much like weird stuff that just appears out of nowhere sometimes, like finding out how these things were done. And I think if it wasn't for like Sonic 2 being made in America as opposed to Japan, we might have never seen some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Think about it.
Japan's very I want to say negligent with keeping this stuff around.
I mean, in the case of Nintendo, it's complete opposite of negligent. They're just very militant on keeping it under lock and key, keeping it in a vault, Yeah. But I don't know how it works with Sega. I mean, literally, in the case of Sonic Generations, they wanted to get a Sonic 1 prototype to put in that game, but they couldn't find it. They knew they had it at one point, but they must have lost it. That tells you, doesn't it?
Well, with M2, and then when they were working on the Sega Ages, they were saying how it was a unique situation that the source code of Phantasy Star 1 was weirdly labelled. So that implies the source code for these games is fairly commonly approachable for them. So maybe Sega is good about keeping this stuff around in Japan. I don't know.
Yeah, in some cases. There was that, I don't know if it was true or not, but I do remember this stuff coming out a while back about them saying that Sega apparently lost the source code to Panzer Dragoon Saga, but I don't know how true that is.
I heard that.
Yeah. It definitely got around like wildfire, because everyone was like, oh, how could they lose this? It's not even that old. It's from like 98, 97, whatever. But like, I don't know how that happens. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, especially when they like move studios and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on if anything else comes up in terms of this, because I'm really looking forward to seeing if some of this stuff can get dumped. Or obviously, in the case of the Tails game, those screenshots are all there is. Like, that never got developed beyond those bits of artwork, essentially. But it'd be cool to get a version of that Astropede playable at some point if he allows it to be so. And I'd be really curious to see what some of those other games he's been talking about are. Like, what the hell is Jester? What could that be? Like, it's interesting. I always like seeing games that we never got, especially when it comes to like Sega stuff. I mean, there's a 32X prototype called Furture Hamster. For God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, I've played that on my 32X now, and it is literally just a polygonal hamster sliding down a tube. And that's kind of it. They didn't get much further than that. They were like, let's make a game with a hamster for the 32X, right? So we're going to render this 3D hamster and we're going to make some tubes. Now what?
So this monkey ball.
Not even that, really, because you just go down tubes and then the tubes sort of split off occasionally and then you can choose a tube. And that's kind of as far as they got. It's like, I don't know if there was more concept beyond that, if they actually had a gameplay strategy, or if they literally just started programming it and were like, what now? What do we do? What do we do with this game? Do we just we've gone to the effort to render this 3D hamster out of about 12 polygons. What do we do now? Forget it. This console's only going to last 5 seconds anyway.
Probably what it was.
Yeah, the 32X is probably one of the most fascinating ones for what ifs, because there are so many games that almost happened in that game.
Like Rayman being one of them.
Rayman was almost planned for the 32X. Symphony of the Night was almost a 32X game. That was actually it's an original. That's where it was originally being programmed for. Apparently for all the 5 minutes until they realised
that would be even more obscure.
Shite. Before they realised that the 32X was a complete mistake and a complete waste of time, and I don't know why Sega had any idea why they even bothered.
Sega America specifically.
Yeah, it was definitely an America thing. They really wanted to keep the Mega Drive relevant as opposed to doing a new console, and that's how the 32X came about. They were like, oh, we want to leverage the Mega Drive, make it stand toe-to-toe with the other consoles, but the way they went about it is questionable at best. I mean, I've got my 32X plugged into my Mega Drive right in front of me right now, and I'm just looking at it and I'm like, why does this thing exist?
I hate you.
I hate you. For the worst thing about the 32X is plugging it into a Mega Drive 1. It's so annoying. It's the most it's the worst, most fiddly thing in the world to plug in.
Plates.
Yeah, you have to put like friggin' fetish prongs inside the cartridge slot. It's like friggin' torture. Like it's like you're torturing the Mega Drive 1 with like all these metal prong things that you have to plug inside it, just so it can safely be connected to it. And
after getting this very elegant Mega CD, you know.
Oh yeah, the Mega CD just clonk, just done. Yeah, you
But
just slot it onto the side.
Them in like dentist work for your poor Mega Drive.
Yeah, it's like you're doing bloody dentist work on it, and like I own like 5 games for it.
5 too many.
Yeah, probably. Like I've got a complete ROM set of the 32X on my Everdrive, and like there's like 30 games and a bunch of weird prototypes, including Furniture Hamster, which I maybe play once in a while. But yeah,
it's annoying because it could have had, at least for retrospect, it probably wouldn't have sold so well. But like even at the time, they like Super Turbo or something like it could have made the best version of Street Fighter 2. You know.
Yeah, because at the time, like the only way to get the best version of Street Fighter 2 back then was the 3DO. Yeah,
exactly. And
I mean, they did put stuff like arcade perfect ports of like Afterburner and Space Harrier on there, but I think they may have just been a bit too late for most people. They were just, I think by that point, no one really cared.
Yeah,
not enough to buy a full, £50, 50, 60, £70 cartridge to play it.
And that's on top of buying the add-on itself.
Yeah, which was almost the price of a console, wasn't it?
It was
something like that.
Yeah, it was like I'm trying to think. It was about £180 when it came out, maybe more. It was a lot. Yeah. It cost more than a Mega CD. I know that. Like we definitely didn't buy one back in the day. It was far too much. I had a Mega CD when I was a kid, but I definitely did not have a 32X because that was by that point. It was just never going to happen. As much as I wanted Chaotix, because I think my cousin had a 32X for a very short period of time, and I played Chaotix there. And I was like, oh wow, it's a new Sonic game. I need it. But then, I think this was actually years after the 32X came out as well, actually.
I remember Chaotix having pictures in Sonic the Comic growing up, and I remember really, really wanting it. But in retrospect, I dodged a bullet, Yeah,
I'm kind of glad I haven't paid the kind of money it goes for now for it, because I feel like that's one of those games, if they were ever to go back to it, like if it got the Christian Whitehead treatment of being rebuilt, they would have to completely rebuild it.
Yeah,
Like
it'd have to be a completely different
graphics, music, character movement is all perfectly fine. Level design, just start from scratch, because the level
you
design,
really would.
there is literally nothing in those levels. They're so empty. Nothing happens. You just sort of run through them. Occasionally there's a bad nick. Very little happens. Go through the motions, basically.
It's probably the worst of like the quote unquote traditional Sonic games design wise.
Yeah, because it's not even like bad level design. It's just boring level design. There's just nothing to do. Like there is literally nothing to do. It's like they forgot to put any of the objects in the levels. It's like it's like if you took Sonic 3 and you took every gimmick out and you just left the levels bare and you just had to navigate them.
Imagine how disappointed you would have been at the time, though. I mean, you've got Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and you spend all this, or your parents spend all this money on the 32X and Chaotix.
I mean, to be fair, I felt that way about Sonic 3D, if I have to be honest.
Oh well, yeah, no, yeah.
I got Sonic 3D one Christmas, and I was like, oh, "This isn't."
I tried to tell myself it was good.
Yeah, same. Like I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a." I just couldn't be. I couldn't even be bothered to play it past a few suns. Like I was at the time, I was just like, "This isn't what I wanted."
Yeah.
I think that was the first time, and this is including like the Game Gear games. This is including stuff like even Sonic Labyrinth. I think this was the first time a Sonic game disappointed me.
Including Labyrinth.
Somehow, yeah. Well, Labyrinth was also like, what is this? But like at the time, it was a Game Gear game. You know, it was a handheld game. You expect less from Game Gear games, but when you get like this game called Sonic 3D, you think, oh my god, it's got to be 3 dimensions, and you just get like this weird isometric thing. In retrospect, it's not that bad, but like at the time, I just remember thinking, this is not what I want. I just want more. I just want Sonic 3 and Knuckles again, but better. Yeah, like a new one of those.
If you adjust your expectations,
Not my Sonic.
I wanted a Sonic 4, basically.
That,
you know,
that,
the one. Yeah. An actual Sonic 4. Basically, Sonic Mania is what I wanted back then. Basically, but
could you imagine?
Completely original games, original levels instead of revisited ones. But yeah, the amount of drawings I've got lying around of me as a kid, from when I was a kid, of me designing new Mega Drive Sonic games, including one that was kind of like a compilation of everything. So it was like all the levels from 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles and CD, and then you could play as any character, any bandit. You could play literally anyone in any level, and it had 4-player multiplayer.
Just massive tower of cartridges.
Yeah. You just plug all the cartridges into each other. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've been going quite a while, so I don't know if we should wrap up soon or not. But I just kind of wanted to go into another thing I've been doing this week, other than playing Taiko and that. I've also been basically going through a bunch of games to try and gauge whether I want to keep them or not, because I'm at this point now with sort of my collection on certain consoles in particular, like the Mega CD. Basically, I've got a Mega EverDrive X7. That was like the high-end one up until recently. Now the Mega EverDrive Pro's come out, and it's actually got an FPGA in it, so you can play Mega CD games through the cartridge, kind of like that other one, the Mega SD. But it's also got a load of other bells and whistles as well, and I kind of want to upgrade. And the first thing I thought to myself was like, I could sell my Mega EverDrive X7 to pay towards it, but I kind of don't want to be without an EverDrive for 5 minutes. So I decided to go through my Mega CD collection and decide what games I don't want, and I just realised I own a lot of games that I just don't know why I even have them. Like, why do I have Night Trap? Why do I have any of most outside of Time Gal and Road Avenger and like the anime ones, all the live action FMV games? I don't even know why I've got them. I think I've just got them for the lols. Because they came up and I was like, oh look, Night Trap, that game's terrible. And then I bought it. I played it like once and I was like, it's still terrible. It's complete garbage. It's not even funny bad. It's just
bad.
It's just annoying. Like,
plain old bad. It's
one of those games that you'd rather watch the cutscenes of and just have a giggle at than actually play, because if you tried to play it, it's just like, what was it? I was testing Ground Zero Texas, another one of those games. And the way that game starts up is it's got like this almost 10-minute opening that you can't skip. It's technically part of the first level, and the only option you get when you pause the game is to restart it. It's like, nope. So you're not playing it for like 10 solid minutes. You're just watching this fuzzy video of people talking directly at you, going, oh, all this stuff's going on. And then all of a sudden it goes, right, press this button. And it doesn't tell you what button. It just goes, oh, you got to do this thing. And then it goes, oh, you failed. And then goes, game over, and a credit scroll. And I was like, what? Hang on. You didn't even tell me what button to press. Like, you didn't give me any idea. I presume I have to look in the manual to know what button I had to press in the moment it decided to suddenly go, oh, you got to press a button now. It was like, oh, do this thing. It was like, what? It was like, oh, well, you failed. Game over. And then the credits scrolled. I was like, why do I own this? Why is this on my shelf? If I really want to play this game, I should just get an EverDrive Pro and just slap the ISOs on it or whatever. Obviously, I've got a load of games on the Mega CD that I'm keeping. I've got loads. Yeah, I've only sorted out. I've probably sorted out maybe half of my collection, and as you can imagine, put some of them on eBay, put some of them on Facebook. Some have sold immediately. Like when it comes to retro games, at the moment in the UK, anywhere specifically, Mega CD seems to be the hot one.
Okay.
Like that's the system where the games are going for insane money. As I say, I guess I just kind of want to go into like, this is kind of a main topic, but this is more just me, just like almost like lying down on a chair and seeing a psychiatrist about friggin' retro collecting and how like, you know, I've seen games like Snatcher that sell or be sold for like £600. And I'm like, who has that money? And then obviously, if I make any kind of like comment questioning the fact that it's that price, I just get hounded by people going, "Ooh, well, loads of people want to pay that for it. I want it," and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna have it, and then you get.
Don't you see how that's unhealthy?
Yeah, and then at the same time, you always get people going, "Oh, people that complain about the prices of buying games always end up selling them for the same kind of money," and it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm not. Just because I don't want to pay insane money for a video game doesn't mean I'm going to go, oh, well, I've got a copy of a game worth hundreds of pounds. I've got to sell it for 20 just to be nice. I'm not going to do that.
No.
If you're going to have the money, you're going to have the money.
It's like blaming someone who's addicted to drugs for wanting to get off them, but they struggle with it, you know? And it's you have this thing where you want to sell this game for us because that's how much it goes for, but you'd rather that the game you're selling doesn't go for that much.
Yeah, I'd rather it didn't, and I'd rather I could both buy and sell the games for cheap like I used to.
Yeah.
Like, not even it was probably about 10 years ago. I feel like that's the catalyst. Somewhere in the last decade, something happened where everything just ballooned and everything got insane. I was looking through my Mega Drive collection as well, and out of all the games I looked at, I was like, not that fussed about keeping it. Most of them weren't actually worth that much. I feel like Mega Drive's kind of mellowed out. It's kind of stayed steady for a while. Like there are a lot of games on the Mega Drive that are probably £10 to £20, which still, to me, feels like a lot because I used to be able to pick them up from boot sales for like 50p because no one wanted them. Like not even just over 10 years ago, maybe. But now you can't even see them at boot sales. They're all gone. Like everyone just wants to pay silly money for some of them. Like when it comes to, well, especially when it comes to like Mega CD, I feel like I kind of have to get rid of some of them before they die. Obviously that scaremongering bit rot is not going to happen immediately. It might happen in the near future, but it's kind of happened a couple times. Like I had a copy of Final Fight CD that literally got a hole grow in it, like a hole appeared in it. It literally had a hole in it, and it just stopped working after a certain level.
Yeah, it's this thing. You'd rather it not be in your hands.
Yeah.
When that sounds horrible to the person who's buying it, and it's not nice that is the thing. But you know,
no, but if people want to, you know, if people have that money and they want to pay that kind of money for these games, fair enough. But just don't expect me to like it if there's a game I want to buy and I don't know how to put this.
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. It's just
Pricey?
like this weird conflict of like,
Like gatekeeping? Or...
yeah, it feels like gatekeeping sometimes. But then, like, if I'm going off and selling, like I've made basically I've been saying to myself, I'll sell a few Mega CD games to pay for Mega EverDrive Pro, and then when I get the EverDrive Pro, I'll sell my X7 because I don't need 2 EverDrives. But I just thought I could justify it if I sell some Mega CD games. And as I say, I've pretty much made that money back already. I could buy one tomorrow if I wanted. Like, but because I just want to play the games. If I want to play I just feel like I've got too many games on my shelves that I've played like once in a decade.
Yeah,
like
I
5
mean,
minutes and gone, that's and then.
as someone who's big into RPGs, I have this issue as well, where I've got RPGs tend to sort of get on the rarer side,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
and I've got a few, and they're worth a reasonable amount, and I thought, is it time to just sell them? Because with RPGs, you don't play them too often. Like the same one. It's
if you really love it, you might play it once, like more than once, but there's not much chance.
I'm not going to lie. It's sentimental mostly because
a lot of my game collection is probably sentimental. Like, I would say, because as I say, I went through all my Mega CD stuff. I probably cut the collection down in half from what I'm going to sell and what I'm going to keep. There's still plenty that I'm like, nope, that's going nowhere. Robo-LS, that's going nowhere. Time Gale, that's going nowhere. They're worth good money, but I don't care. I'm keeping them. I got them for cheap years ago, or in the case of Time Gale, I had that since I was a kid. That's my childhood copy. Like, I've had that since it came out, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got my copy of Mega Man X.
Like, some of it is sentimental because when you think about it, if you got an EverDrive, you technically don't need any of these games.
No,
any of them. Like, I could sell all of them, and it wouldn't matter. I could just play all of them. But there's just, I was going through my Mega Drive stuff, and I was like, can I shift anything on the Mega Drive side? And I was looking up prices, and I was going, oh, that one's worth quite good money. I've only played it a few times. Plug it in, play it for 5 minutes, like, nah, I'll keep it.
This is my.
I got this for £2 at a car boot sale. That will never happen again. If I sell it, I'll never own it again. Like, it's just never going to happen again,
This is the problem with retro collecting specifically, when you see a good deal on a game. I mean, I remember I got Alundra for £4, and it's like, I couldn't sell that version of Alundra because it's a memory that I got it for £4.
Yeah. That's how I feel about most of my Mega Drive games. Like, I'd say the best purchase I ever made in my life, like in terms of games stuff, was when I got that Asian Mega Drive with about 40 games, and one of them was Musha. It had, well, it wasn't even just Musha. The whole lot was good. Every single game was a brilliant game. Like, almost every single game in that bundle I kept forever.
I mean, you could buy your EverDrive with just selling Musha alone.
Exactly, yeah. But I ain't gonna do that.
No,
because
exactly.
I paid that bundle with about 40 games, and the console was less money than Musha alone is now. It was about, I want to say it was about 150 quid or something like that, and it was an auction, so I could have lost it. And I still remember this is really sad, but as I was bidding on it, and within the last hour I was watching Classic Game Room's 8-part review of Musha while I was waiting for it to end, and just getting all hyped up and be like, oh, I really want Musha, because I'd never emulate, or I think I had emulated it actually, so I had played it in bits. But yeah, I was just going through this like hour-long saga of reviews that Classic Game Room did for some reason, where he just reviewed every level, and I was just sitting there like, oh, I really need this bundle, and somehow I won it, and yeah, it was just over 150 quid or something like that. I can't remember, and I still feel like that was like the best video game purchase I'd ever made in my life. Like, it reinvigorated my love for the Mega Drive. Like, for the longest time, like, the Dreamcast was like my biggest love. Like, I was collecting games for that for years. Like, from the year it came out till up until recently. Now I barely buy anything for the Dreamcast because I've pretty much got every game I want. Like, almost every single game that's worth playing, except maybe one or two that are too expensive. But yeah, with the Mega Drive, like, loved it as a kid because I grew up with it, but I mostly just had like platformers and licensed games. That's pretty much all our parents got us. They just got us the cartoon games. Didn't really have a lot of like what are considered the classic games.
Yeah.
Mostly had stuff like Bubsy and Radical Rex and Earthworm Jim and all that kind of stuff. You know, that was what we grew up on. That's what we were given because our parents, funnily enough, they didn't buy us violent video games often. they mostly bought us stuff that was age appropriate. You know, there was some exceptions, especially in the case of the Amiga. I know we played a lot of Mortal Kombat on the Amiga, but I just feel like when I got that bundle of the Asian Mega Drive of all those Japanese games, that completely reinvigorated my love for the system and put it back on top again as like my favourite system. And now I feel the same with my Mega Drive collection. As long as it all fits on that rotating stand, I'm happy. Like, there's a few blank spots on there, so I could fit a couple more games on there if I wanted, but obviously I can't afford many right now. I think the last games I even bought for the Mega Drive, I think the last one I bought was actually Rainbow Islands. That was like 50 quid, which feels like a lot of money to me. Obviously it's not, because that game's worth more than that, but I just really wanted to own that.
And this issue with retro collection, I think, is compounded if you live in a PAL region as well, because you do have these inferior versions of a lot of these games anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
My collection, I've spent the last decade almost completely eradicating PAL games from my collection. Almost everything I own Sega-wise is Japanese now.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have this other situation where, you know, I know emulation, it's a dodgy area, but like, yeah, there's so many ways to play games in a very authentic way now.
Yeah,
and even
exactly. I'd say I didn't think I would like the EverDrive as much as I have, but the fact that it's on the original hardware and you can use the original controllers and it's all through the original hardware is perfect. Like it's exactly like playing. It feels almost exactly like playing just a cartridge, you know.
Yeah, and I know people make the argument it's like it's pirating, but it's like, well, okay, when you know, like Musha comes onto the Nintendo Switch, we'll talk. But you know,
yeah, if it comes out on the Switch, I'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like I would buy that game again and again. I love that freaking game. It's like one of my top 5 all-time games.
But I'm not going to pay however many hundreds Musha costs now just to have copy on an actual Mega Drive that, frankly, I haven't even got out anymore. You know, my Mega Drive, it's been put away because you know, like it's my PVM. I haven't got the space to keep it all out.
No, exactly. I'm just lucky that I've got this room dedicated to having my retro systems in it. And basically, 3 consoles have never been unplugged from my setup, and they are the Dreamcast, the Mega Drive, and the Saturn.
Yeah.
They're 3 have never been out of my setup for some reason.
I mean, essentially, my Raspberry Pi is to my EverDrive, essentially. And because we are at a stage now where third-party controllers are really, really good. You know, they're almost indistinguishable from the real thing.
Yeah, we finally got Mega Drive controllers that feel like Mega Drive controllers. It took 30 years, but they got there.
Thanks to Retrobit and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And the quality of emulation cores on RetroPie are so good that they're as better than most minis. You know, and like, I'm not saying everyone go out and buy a Raspberry Pi, but it's just one of those things where get an EverDrive or
the fact is there's so many options now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So many different ways. If you really want it to feel more authentic, there are more authentic ways. If you want to just have a little box that can do everything, you've got that as well. There's the FPGA Mister. To be honest, when my Amiga CD32 broke down, and when it almost sounded like it wasn't going to be fixable, at that point I was like, right, it's going, it's gone. I'm going to get a Mister. That was my framework with that. When it comes to old home computer stuff, I already got rid of my Amiga 600 because I just I cannot be bothered with old computers. Like it, I can't do it because I was buying games for it and they just didn't work because of BitRot. They were just gone. Like half the games I bought, even if they were cheap, I was buying them cheap, and they were untested. And I was like, oh well, they're cheap, whatever. I plop into the Amiga 600 and they just didn't work. I was like, well, that's a box. I have
In
a
fact,
box.
CRTs are a ticking time bomb in of themselves.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that I'm still really worried about. I've got my CRT, I've got my Sony Triniton. I still love using a CRT to play old stuff. I still feel like that's the best way to do it. But if we get to a point where there's an alternative that's just as good, I'll take that alternative, but it's just not there yet.
I mean, we're getting to a stage now where I think playing retro games is about concessions, and I think that first I had to make the concession on legitimate games, and then I had to make concessions on legitimate hardware, and then eventually I have to make concessions on using authentic display devices, and maybe I'll have to get some kind of version of the FrameMeister that's hopefully a lot cheaper down the line.
Yeah.
You know, as a compromise.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. I still think in some ways, especially when it comes to like some of the Sega systems like the Mega Drive and the Saturn, I think people exaggerate when they say retro consoles look like crap on modern TVs, because when you plug, if you've got an LCD TV and it's got a SCART cable in the back and you put a Mega Drive into it, it looks great. Like it doesn't have that same glow and niceness and like scan lines that you get from like a CRT, but it still looks super sharp and it looks perfectly fine. It's not blurry, it's not crap, as long as you've got a SCART cable, not an RF or a composite.
I think it also depends on the quality of your screen as well, because like you will get people who have like really budget LCD screens.
I feel like I've just always got lucky. Like every LCD TV I've used that's had a SCART cable in it, they've all been great. Like every time.
I've definitely had bad experiences upscaling. And I've had not so bad ones. I think some systems.
I feel like newer TVs are worse. Like I feel like somewhere down the line when they started going into like 4K TVs or something went wrong somewhere. Because I still remember like trying the switch on my parents' new 4K TV, and because I didn't know where the game mode thing was, it just ran really bizarre and it was adding frames and it looked like terrible. And I was like, what's going on? What have you done to Splatoon 2?
It was doing that to like Disney Plus as well.
Oh yeah, that interpolation stuff where it just adds frames and it just looks artificial and like literally a computer's adding frames. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I've gotten a bit older, and I think it's at a stage now with collecting where I can't do it all. I can't have it all, and
exactly,
I have to. You know, and I like my collection, and I don't. It pains me to want to sell anything. It's like Game Boy Advance have flash memory. When are they going to run out of rights on the site? You know,
probably not anytime soon, but maybe eventually.
Launch games, a lot of them are like Advance Wars, and that a lot of people's Advance Wars are bricked.
Oh, well, bricked.
Can you do anything about it? Or
I mean, maybe you could theoretically replace the flash memory, but I'm not sure. But your best bet would probably be a like some kind of flash cart, because you know that games
like that's eventually where things are going.
Yeah. Because I mean, like Advance Wars, every single time you play a map, it saves, and I think your mileage will vary depending on that factor. Some Game Boy Advance games where you have manual saves might not as much, because you know I think they have something like 100,000 rights or something like that. You know, before that's it. So it's a scary thing. You know, we went from
get them anywhere any other way, then it is scary. If you can't play them any other way outside of emulation and that, if there's no like new re-release of the game. That's why I really champion stuff like SNK putting out Neo Geo Pocket games. That is fantastic.
That was a power move.
That is such a power move. When they announced that, you saw how excited I got. It was like, I already own those. Like I own those games, but I don't care. The fact that you can buy them again and they're available for a new audience and you don't need the original hardware anymore, that's fantastic.
I just care about preservation, you know.
That's what it is. I just want to be able to play those games now, and if it means not having the originals, then so be it. Like, it doesn't have to be the original anymore. Like in a couple cases, there's a couple of Mega Drive games that I've considered getting repros of. If the repro is really good and it looks exactly like the original, I'll have it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like Battlemania 2, you can get like that translated version of the game. And if I can get a copy that has a perfect manual and looks exactly like the original release, which is worth what, £900?
Stupid money, yeah.
Yeah, insane money, because it is literally one of the rarest. Yeah, that game was literally made in its maybe hundreds. That's why it's so expensive. It's always been expensive. I remember when it was like £250. I was like, no way. Back in like a decade ago, I was like, no way am I paying 250 quid for a game. But now it's close to the thousands, and you're like,
Yeah.
nope.
I mean, I have a few repros, GBA repros. I have a Mother 3 one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it's just that was like an edge case for me, because it was like that game it's a rhythm game as well. The combat's rhythm.
Yes.
So
Oh, yes, of course. So you need that screen.
yeah, emulation, you drop those frames. So I was
Yeah,
like,
you play that through a GameCube or something. It's not going to be fun time.
no, it's not. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to use my actual hardware for this. I'm just going to buy a repro, and it does work miraculously well. And I did a full playthrough of it. It's fine, you know. And it's like, it's not like Mother 3 came out in English anyway.
No, that's the thing. Like, buying old games is not doing anything for the developers of those games.
No.
Like, they're not getting a penny out of you spending £800 on a game. They're not getting a dime for that. Like,
no, exactly.
Yeah. Do you remember when we were trying to guess what Sega's big reveal was? The one that ended up just being Fog Gaming or whatever. And do you remember I said I literally had a dream about Sega doing this service where you could literally scan the barcode of a Mega Drive game and play it on any modern system?
Yeah.
I think that's how bad my brain is. Like, it's gotten to the point now where my brain is subconsciously, when I'm asleep, telling me about things that would be good preservation for games.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's really sad.
It's just the way it is. I mean, I bought this Grandia HD collection. I own Grandia 2 twice and Grandia 1 twice. I don't actually need it. It's just I want to make sure, you know. And I could probably sell Grandia 1 and Grandia 2 for a reasonable amount of money once I get that as well. So
nice, yeah.
You know, it's just I'm at that point now where I've got to think on those terms, because space and you know, do I really?
It's like I'd never really been super into Castlevania, but I bought that Switch collection with all the Castlevania, well, most of the Castlevania classic games on it, because it was £4, and it's like I used to have Castlevania on the Mega Drive. I barely played it, and then I sold it for quite a bit of money a few years back, because I just didn't really play it much, because I just never really clicked with Castlevania. But I thought for £4 I'll just have them sitting on my Switch, and if I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to finally dig into these games and actually play them and try and get into them, that's the way to do it, instead of owning the originals. Yeah,
and they are fantastic versions. You know, it's a superior way to play them, because not only do you have the Japanese versions of the game, so you've got the enhanced sound on Castlevania 3 and better balance, you know, and like on the Contra collection, it's the same thing. You've got that better version of Contra 1. So yeah, it's better than owning on the Mega Drive, especially if you own presumably new generation. I don't know if you own.
Yeah,
it's
it was
like
new generation, the censored one.
Yeah, so you know, that I would sell that on principle. So yeah, so it's you know, I never thought I would ever be at this point when I was like a sort of, I don't know, 18 till sort of not too long ago, maybe a few years ago. I never would have dreamed of it. You know,
exactly. I went through my entire teens and pretty much all of my 20s just buying games on the cheap. Like buying Dreamcast games or like 2 for $5 at a game station or whatever, and just buying games just to try them, and just amassed this massive collection of Dreamcast games. And then I got into like import Saturn stuff and all that kind of stuff. I can still get some Saturn games quite reasonable if they're Japanese, but especially when it comes to the disc stuff, I think with the cartridge stuff, I'm not quite so worried. Except in the case of like GBA, like you mentioned, they have so many times they can write. But like when it comes to like Mega Drive cartridges and stuff, I'm mostly content. But like at the same time, I guess it's just a kind of I'm a little bit scared about the thought that I could just wake up one day and every single game has just stopped working and they're all coasters.
Yeah. I mean, that's you know, all
it's probably not going to happen.
No.
Maybe
Like it might not even happen in my lifetime. Like maybe
Maybe.
one or two might die. Like if I'm unlucky, maybe a couple might go. But there's just no way of knowing, is there?
Yeah.
No. And sometimes I have thoughts like, oh, what if there was a massive flood? And it's like, I can only say one thing.
They're
If
all
I had an
gone.
Everdrive, it would be a lot easier to save all my games
Mm.
than
Yeah.
actually having,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's an
I
extreme
guess,
case.
yeah. I think with my collection now, the fact that the games are so expensive now, I can't touch them. It's kind of helped me stop
Yeah.
buying games for the sake of buying it, kind of, because usually when they were so cheap, I was literally just buying games just because they're cheap. But
Mhm.
like now that they're kind of walled off for me in a lot of ways, it's kind of slowed me right down.
You had to go cold
And-
turkey.
Yeah, kind of. And I feel like it's kind of helped me in a way because now I feel like I'm pretty content with what I have.
Mm.
Like I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Like
Yeah.
there are lots of games I would like to own, especially on the Saturn, weirdly enough. That's the system that's got the most games I'd like to play that I haven't got. But there's solutions coming out now that let you literally put a hard drive in a Saturn and you can just play every game. And
Yeah. I
that's-
mean,
at this point, I have multiple Saturns, I have multiple Dreamcasts. I have Dreamcasts behind. I have about 5 broken Dreamcasts behind me, or 4 broken
Yeah.
Dreamcasts. Some of them they work perfectly fine, but the disk drive's gone. So
Yeah.
I am actually considering taking out that disk drive and putting in one of those new
Yeah.
hard drive solutions, and then I can just play any Dreamcast game, and then
I
don't
mean,
know
yeah.
whether to reassess my collection or not. I don't feel like I'm in a hurry to have to reassess my collection. It feels like a hoarder thing sometimes, but then I look at
Yeah.
other people's collections and it's like, no, it's not a hoard at all.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
I look at my collection, it's like I have like 150 Dreamcast games. That seems like a lot, but then you see some other people's and you're like, okay, it's not that bad.
Mm.
I mean, it is that sort of place for me as well, where it's like I've got these games. It's like, do I want to sell them yet? Do I need to sell them yet?
Exactly. Yeah, that's how
And
I
it's-
felt with the Mega
Sweet-
CD stuff when I was testing it throughout the week. As I was playing through some of those games, I was like, how many times have I actually played this since I've owned it? Maybe
Mhm.
twice. How long for? Maybe 10 minutes. I've probably played this for 20 minutes in 20 years. It's like,
Yeah.
that's gone.
Yeah. I mean,
And then
I
other
also-
other games I haven't played much, but as soon as I plug them in, I'm like, oh, I still quite like this. It's like
I think
no
I think-
hurry.
as someone who plays RPGs again, or played a lot of RPGs growing up, I'm also at a stage where I'm just enjoying the not playing RPGs a bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I like an RPG. I'm playing it True and Odyssey right now, but it's there's only so much time,
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
And it's one thing to replay Super Metroid. It's another thing entirely to boot up, Xenosaga or something like that,
Yeah,
or
like
Suikoden.
another, 80 hours into something. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
and like I say, I don't come back to these as much. I
Mm.
don't even remember when I last played Final Fantasy 7. I played that a lot when I was younger, and I probably replayed it untold amount of times, but
Mm.
I haven't played it in a long time.
Yeah, you probably had your feel of it. Back then.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to find
got
like
the
stuff
memories.
that I haven't played before now, and it's thinking
Mm.
like, will I ever get around to playing? I don't know, Vagrant Story again.
Yeah, I
You know?
guess for me as well, I think another thing that I'm using as like a gauge when I put a game in, I feel like the live streams are helping as well because it basically forces me to get a bunch of random games out and play them on stream. And then I'm finding like there are lots of games that people would consider to be classics, but I play them and I just get annoyed and frustrated with them, and I'm just like, I'm not enjoying this. So that's usually a moment where I'm like, okay, that's going.
Yeah.
That's another thing that, like, if I'm not enjoying the game, well, why do I own it? Like,
Yeah.
even if it's considered a great game by everyone, like, there's plenty of games that are like absolute classics. Everyone loves them. I'll put it in, and I'm just not having fun. It's like, why do I have this?
Yeah, if you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to keep it. I'm not a preservationist. I'm not a museum. I'm not keeping it to show a complete collection.
Yeah,
I just want the games that I actually want to play.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's more ethical to give it to someone who would enjoy it anyway, or sell it to someone.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
that's what I feel like with a lot of games. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
I've got my feel out of a lot of things. I mean, I know this has gone on for a while, but yeah, it's just and we like I say, you got these minis now, and they help approach like the PC Engine minis help me approach games that I never would have played in my time.
Yeah, like PC Engine is one of those systems that I wish I could have gotten into back when the games were affordable. Because I still remember there was a shop like a retro shop in London that just had a whole shelf just of PC Engine games. I don't know if you ever saw that shop. It was in London somewhere, but they just had a whole wall of PC Engine games. And I think the first time I went in that shop, I probably spent 2 hours flipping through those games and just going, I want them all. Look at these boxes. Look how nice they are. I was just so like enthralled by just this shelf. I was just like, can I just take the whole cabinet?
That is the problem with PC Engine.
And even back then, this was like 12 years ago or whenever it was, 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Even back then, they were expensive. So I was like, I love them, but I cannot have. And obviously now it's even worse. So it's like the PC Engine Mini is probably going to be my solution. I'll get that, and that will do me for PC Engine.
For the most part,
it already has almost every good game on it. Almost
pretty much
most of the best games that PC Engine had on it. So if I get one of those, that'll do me.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I feel like it was missing that was just like a no-brainer to me is that there's Lords of Thunder, and then there's the other game of Thunder, I think it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but that's not on there. And I was like, oh, that's a shame because everyone says that's really good as well.
But then you could just hack it eventually and put more on it. So
I think it's already been done.
Probably
so
hackable, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. PC Engine, it's great. Lots of games you can just pick up and play, and more
I'll
opportunities.
definitely be picking one of those up at some point. I just kind of wish there was a way to plug the minis into a CRT.
Yeah.
Like if I could put the PC Engine Mini into my CRT, there probably is like a HDMI to SCART thing that might work, but I just think that'd be cool.
That would.
Anyway, I think we've probably rambled enough. It's just been something that's been running on my mind all week. Like as I've been selling some Mega CD games I really did not care about. I literally had a load of games. I was like, why do I have this? But then as I was going through my Mega Drive stuff, I was like, none of these are going. I was looking at a couple games. I was like, oh, this one's worth quite a bit of money. Nah.
Well, trick question: what PC 32X games do you care about?
Which 32X games?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was talking about Mega Drive, but...
Oh, okay.
No, 32X, I've literally got Star Wars, Virtua Racing, Virtua Fighter, Cosmic Carnage, and I think I have a cartridge of Space Harrier knocking around, and NBA Jam, and that's all I've got.
Fair enough.
But, I don't know. The 32X is an interesting novelty, more than anything. Like, I do kind of get... It's got the best version of Virtua Racing still. I'd still say that's the best version.
Really?
Yeah, because it's got tons of extra stuff. And unlike the Saturn one, it actually plays good as well. I know why they didn't put all the extra content from Deluxe in the Switch version. But, yeah. I'd say the Switch one's probably the most playable, but, like, that's still my favourite version, the 32X one. That's probably the main reason to still have a 32X. And I still kind of like that version of Virtua Fighter, even though it's incredibly crude. There's just something about it I really dig. But,
if only Arcade 1-Up actually were making that.
Oh, yeah. See, that would have been really nice news to have on this podcast, but it turned out to be false. There was a 1-Up Arcade image that came up of a Virtua Fighter machine that has Virtua Fighter 1, 2 Remix, Fighters Megamix, and Sonic the Fighters.
Too good to be true, that one.
It really was, yeah. Like
I
would have had that in an instant. The only thing that I think clued most people in that it wasn't real was the fact that it had Virtua Fighter Remix on it, because that was an STV game, not a Model 1 or 2 game. So that would be too difficult to emulate.
Isn't Megamix not an arcade game anyway?
No, it wasn't Fighters Megamix. It was Virtua Fighter Remix.
Oh, okay.
Which was a sort of remake of the first game that they made for the Saturn, but then it also got ported back to arcades. It's just like an in-between of 1 and 2 in a way. They did it as an apology for the sort of sloppy Saturn port of the first game. Kind of like what they did with Daytona as well. They just threw out like a enhanced version. No, personally, I don't really like Remix. I think it's a bit rubbish. They just like kind of slapped textures onto the characters to make them look kind of like this Virtua Fighter 2 characters. That it just kind of looks ugly. I still prefer the original one, I think. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I've just been thinking about this stuff all week. Like, I'm going through my Mega Drive stuff, and it's like certain systems I definitely have more of a bias towards.
Sega systems.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think my biggest bias are probably Neo Geo Pocket, Dreamcast, Saturn, Mega Drive. Like, I'll make more concessions for them systems. Like, even like Master System, because I didn't really have a Master System growing up. I don't really have as much affection for that. I have a few Master System games, and again, there isn't really any I want to sell, maybe. But like, I don't know. Like, Mega Drive's probably still top dog. Like, almost every game I put in, I've got loads of games that are probably considered complete rubbish, but I just get a kick from them. I just really there's something about the Mega Drive aesthetic and audio that I love. Even the janky games I like.
I think Nintendo systems, probably Sega as well, because like I say, you have all these collections now. There's no real reason to own Phantasy Star 4 on Mega Drive, really. You know, you don't need to.
No, you don't.
It's a similar sort of situation with Nintendo to a degree. You know, a lot of their systems are available in other ways.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not permanently in the case of the online service, but yeah, you know, maybe don't have to be so attached. I've got Mega Man X on Super Nintendo. It's my original copy, but if it wasn't my original copy, I probably would sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean.
How many Mega Man collections are there now? You know,
you can get pretty much almost every Mega Man game is on the Switch now in some fashion. Almost.
Yeah.
Like they just need to do a Battle Network collection and some other collections. A Legends collection and a couple other spin-offs, and that's about it.
I think that's about it. Yeah. So you know, I'll just keep...
When it comes to like systems like the Super Nintendo, I have a handful of games, and again, it's another case of I got these games so cheap, I do not want to dare get rid of them again because I won't get them again. But in the case of something like the Super Nintendo, as much as I would like to get a couple games, I'll probably just get an Everdrive for that as well.
Wise idea.
Yeah, because there's so many games. Because the Super Nintendo feels like the most untapped potential system for me that I'm going to really love. I think the more SNES I play, the more I'm going to fall in love with it because there's so many hidden gems. That non-Nintendo games, stuff by like Natsume and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
just there's so much cool stuff. Like
games like The Fireman, you wouldn't know existed.
Exactly,
really.
Yeah. Like as much as I absolutely adore the Mega Drive, the SNES has an incredible library. Probably one of the best libraries ever.
Probably one of the most consistently good, I would say.
Yeah, there's some rubbish, obviously, but like there's so much good stuff. I think an Everdrive will be the solution there.
Yeah.
Because I've only got a handful, and again, most of them are untouchable now. And I've even gotten to the point now where I used to be very particular about owning complete games. Almost all of my games are complete.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I'm fine with just having the cartridges.
Yeah.
Which is a first. Like that's literally only happened in the last couple of years for me.
Yeah, you better be okay with that on Super Nintendo because you ain't got a lot of choice.
Exactly, yeah. I've got a few box games, but most of my SNES collection is cartridges. Most of my Game Gear collection is cartridges, and I'm fine with that now. Like as much as I like the boxes to some of the Japanese games, especially, if I could just get the cart, I'm happy.
In terms of Super Nintendo boxes, I think I've got UN Squadron, Zelda, Mystic Quest. Secret Illusion of Time and
Mystic Quest.
Yeah, I think that's all I own, and for the most part, other than the fact that that's my original copy of Zelda and my original copy of Secret Mana, I've just gone out of my way to get those ones, but it's just too expensive, and most of them aren't in good nick anyway. My Secret Mana is falling to pieces, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, just cartridges are fine.
Yeah, I do feel like the one system that I feel like, the modern system that I feel like is starting to get its claws into me in terms of, I kind of want to get loads of games for it, is the Switch. Like physical ones. I feel like something about those tiny cases and the teeny weeny cartridges. It's just something very Moorish about it.
Oh, I know. I've amassed a reasonable Switch collection in quite a short amount of time.
Yeah, I'm still shocked how many Switch games I already own, like both digitally and physically. It's something about those tiny cases.
It's one of those reasons I'm not rushing out to buy a massive SD card for it, because I've got 200 gig and I did upgrade from my I had 64 and it wasn't enough, so I've upgraded to 200, and that probably be fine. I've not even used half because if it's physical, I try to get it. You know.
Yeah, and then like there's certain consoles like the Wii and the PS2 I have tons of games for. But what I ended up doing with those is I just put most of the games for the Wii and the PS2 in sleeves and put them in folders.
Yeah,
I've still got complete. There's still complete copies of the games with the manual and the cover, but they're just in sleeves. And it's like, it just saved tons of room. And at one point I had all my Wii. I had about 80 Wii games at one point. I did sell a few, but I still got most of those. But most of them are just in folders now.
Yeah, I mean, just wait. I mean, it's probably happening already, but just wait till PS2 gets to that point where every game is going to be ridiculous.
I almost feel like that system's almost immune to that. I feel like that's still the cheapo console. It still feels like everything's cheap on that except for RPGs.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've got mostly RPGs.
Except for good games, like all the good games are worth money. But
yeah, I mean,
you can still pick up games for the PS2 for like 10p because no one freaking wants them.
Yeah, I mean, other than like games that are just objectively rare, like Rule of Rose, it's all pretty standard. You're not gonna pay like over £100 for a PS2 game. That's never gonna happen.
Even like the rarest Wii games are not £100. Like they're probably £80 tops. But they're gonna creep up eventually.
They will, yeah.
They will eventually creep up, but I don't know. I think we should probably wrap this up. Ages. Thanks for joining me on this little psychiatrist little session.
I think I needed that as well, to be fair.
I just needed to get that out of the system. That was another one of those systems to get out in podcast form because it's just been rattling on my mind all week. I've been staring in this gaming room and just going, is it too much? Is it not enough? Is it I've been tidying it all up, and it does seem a lot less like it's all gonna fall on my head and kill me now. But in my old house, it was really bad. I literally had a tiny bedroom, and my collection was just over me. It felt like I would wake up one morning and it would all fall on my head. That's what it felt like.
Finding that balance between collecting and hoarding is hard.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like in recent years, especially since I moved here in the last 2 years, I feel like I've managed to cut it down to a level that doesn't feel absurd anymore. I've got everything in certain cabinets, and it's right, this cabinet is the Saturn cabinet. It can't go beyond that cabinet. The rotating Mega Drive stand, that's the Mega Drive stand. It can't go beyond that, except for a couple up there. But except for James Pond 2, because the Japanese one's case is too thick to fit on the rotating stand. But I've got limits now. I've set limits, and I've actually managed to make a few shelves there in recent memory, so I've got more space. But I've got limits on what I can fill up now.
Well, that's healthy, I think.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I hope everyone didn't mind that little ramble.
Oh no.
It went on for a bit, but that's been the Lucky Hit podcast, episode 84. We'll be back sometime next week. I think we're both working Monday, so it might have to be Tuesday again. But I'll have to have a look what my schedule is next week.
Yeah.
But as I say, we're not doing this every Monday anymore because we basically don't know what's going on until I think I'll get my rota on Monday. So it's it's all over the place, and your
Yeah.
job's all over the place as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes they call you in on the day, so
Yeah. 0 hours, everybody.
that's what it does. They can just go, "Well, you're all right to come in today." It's like, yes, but also, yeah. Anyway, so I've been the Gagaman.
I've been Cherry Terrier.
I've been ShelvedGamer.
And I've been Hunk Thunder.
Channeling elk there.
Yeah. Don't forget to wash your hands.
Right, yeah, sorry, Elk's in the thumbnail, but he's not here, and we've got to mention it for like an hour.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll be.
I've already
hopefully he'll be okay.
apologised for that, but I just feel bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad that we didn't even acknowledge the fact that he's not here. He should be back next week.
Yeah, he'll be back next week.
Yeah. Alright, we'll be off then. We'll see you later.
See you later.